House resumes and debate continues, and a member is on his feet already.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to make my presentation in this Honourable House on the budgeted estimates for 2017-2018 as presented by the Honourable Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance. Madam Speaker, we see a theme: realizing a modern, prosperous Dominica and its interesting, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I will relate in the opening certain things that we see that could have been bipartisan that is needed as we try to realize a modern, prosperous Dominica. Madam Speaker, the total budget financing is historical. And it's historical in terms of the quantum, almost nearing, if you have to round it off, 1 billion EC dollars. And when we look in the appendices as to the revenue source of our estimate, the projected revenue source, we have 51% coming from the funds from the sale of passports by the Citizen by Investment Program. And Madam Speaker, it's our suggestion, it's my suggestion, my firm commitment to say that we need to have more than wit. We need to implement some better execution, less idle talk, cut off the business as usual approach in dishing out monies, and invest the money in sustainable things, Madam Speaker. So we are talking about an economy which deals with the present state of people and the conduct of the government of the day in creating the opportunities for these people to thrive in that economy, Madam Speaker. So it's incumbent on government at all levels, all stages of the institutions of the state to ensure that the citizens, no matter what religion, what race, what creed, or political party color, from what I see from this budget, those things have to be eliminated, Madam Speaker. So we ask ourselves, who and what does the government of the day have to cater for in this budget? First of all, the citizens, we who are resident here permanently, as well as our visiting persons, both local, tourists, and all that. These persons will speak to us at the end of the financial year and tell us how they used to see things, what happened in the budget. Opposition members, this is what was promised. That's what we expect. So, Madam Speaker, this budget should satisfy our needs and our country's needs. So, hence the importance and ability to recognize the capacity of building the appropriate human resource to effectively manage this budget, Madam Speaker. And this is a critical component in the equation of making that big budget work. And we speak about bipartisan approach. We need to let the people out there, our public, our listening public, on both sides of the political fence, understand that on this side of the House, we are always willing to engage in a meaningful way towards the budget presentations and things that concern the development of the country. However, it's only at this sitting, Madam Speaker, that we have the opportunity to impart and share our professional knowledge, our skills towards the budget contribution. We were not afforded that before. Anyway, Madam Speaker, saying this, I think I want to congratulate our leader of the opposition for making a very good response to the budget, Madam Speaker. I want to congratulate him, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, we need to ensure that the local residents, the foreign persons, the visitors, all of us can understand what is going on, Madam Speaker. And all of us we haven't got to be afraid of that portrait of victimization that some of our constituents tell us, Madam Speaker. And I say our constituents, Madam Speaker, because my presence in this House is as a senator and as a person who contested last election, Madam Speaker. So I do represent people here, and a significant amount, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, Dominica needs an economy that caters to the continuous improvement of people's lives by utilizing the technical skills of its human resource, Madam Speaker. And I say the technical skills, yes, yes. So, Madam Speaker, we need to show a sense of value gains for the benefits of the people in that economy. And value gains, that economy right now have a lot of things, and many things are lingering. Some have started, and they have not continued, Madam Speaker. So we are suggesting on this side of the House that every project must have a start, must have a budget component, and must have some kind of lifeline. The end may not be right now, but you can say towards an end. But it should not be to infinitum that when we feel elections around the corner, we run and rush an election budget and say, look, here it is, take it, we are going to do everything. Okay? So, where we are in terms of our country's infrastructure, our industry goals, in terms of short-term, medium, and long-term, and the budget expectations, Madam Speaker, and the priorities is very important. So in realizing results, systems have to be put in place for the proper monitoring and positively adjusting our plans with the aspects of maintenance, Madam Speaker. Maintenance is a serious issue, Madam Speaker, because I cannot preempt what the next supplementary estimate will be, Madam Speaker. But with a massive budget rising to $1 billion, Madam Speaker, this point that I mentioned there is very important, very critical to PSCs and technical officers down the line to ensure that we have no reason to bring any big supplementary estimate. Because to me it seems that that budget was well put together. I'll give the credit to it, but I want to see that it can satisfy the people's needs, Madam Speaker. So, in order that we can prosper from all these activities and minimize the setbacks during implementations, it's important we do critical analysis. Critical analysis, Madam Speaker. And when you do critical analysis, you need to analyze, assess the risk, because you want to have cost effectiveness and value generation, Madam Speaker. You need that. And one of the areas where I can speak to that and say and show where, when we speak about the suspension of the geothermal project, Madam Speaker, recall it is a very good idea. But when you go and you spend so much money, I mean in the exploration stage about 60 million was spent and whatnot, and you set up one company for geothermal. I'm suggesting here, Madam Speaker, we should have set up a company for renewable energy. And geothermal is a component of it, because we could have been targeting many other alternative energy sources at the same time, Madam Speaker. Okay? We should be doing that, because we would have been getting results from microhydro. We would be getting the results from the solar already. We would be seeing something tangible, Madam Speaker. So we need to let the cabinet understand and the gurus here understand that critical analysis is important, Madam Speaker, in setting up anything. Madam Speaker, our duty as the opposition party, though I look at ourselves as the minority party and the more able side and the more able sets of persons to take over and bring Dominica to prosperity, where it should be, Madam Speaker. I recognize that, and my honourable friend, Honourable Rusty, he can say that as well, Madam Speaker. So, our people, our residents, all of them, I want to call on our people to educate themselves about the plans of the government of the day, particularly at this budget. And I want to tell the government, similarly how you have your public PR response towards CBI, diplomatic passport things running around the country, I want to suggest that you go out there. We can go bipartisan and bring the budget out there to people as well, Madam Speaker. So we shouldn't hide things from the people. We should bring it out to the people, Madam Speaker. And both government and the opposition need to spell out to the people what government plans for the constituency and the country is by extension, Madam Speaker. It is, however, a big question in my mind, Madam Speaker. With a large budget, with so many allocations, that the very human resource we depend on to help execute this service, this budget, the public service, have no share in it, Madam Speaker. No race for the public service, Madam Speaker. The very teachers, the policemen, the nurses, Madam Speaker, you're hearing all about extension of the government public service support programs. I see recently, Madam Speaker, an office established in Canefield for public service support. And I think there are many more around the country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, people in the country need help. And when the level of help rises in that country, it means that people are getting poorer. The minute that the government has to intervene, even at your home, we need to understand that we cannot be putting public support programs, and we are not putting farm extension programs, greenhouse expansion programs, and nursery extension programs, Madam Speaker. We have to be doing this. We cannot be fooling the people and say, well, look, we are the government of the day. Yes, it is not your government alone, it's our government. It's our government. And when we see the manner in which things are being done, it's like based on a party thing to put a hand out. We need to speak to the people and tell them, recognize that and ask for better, Madam Speaker. However, whatever help these persons can get, because they're in need, Madam Speaker, let them have it. So, we are in 2017. There were elections in December 2014. We had Tropical Storm Erica in August 2015. And presently, we understand that we still have lots of rehabilitation work to be done, particularly and most of them will deal with Ministry of Public Works and reconstruction and rehabilitative works, Madam Speaker. So it is incumbent on this administration to respect and to enforce and to follow the procurement and tendering process. I really want to applaud you in areas where you have done so, and to really look at the local skills, the local contractors, engage them more than before. Maybe some contractors cannot be found because they are too busy, because some projects, Madam Speaker, have to wait for one contractor to finish something in Portsmouth, one to finish something in Roseau, before they could have come and finished the water supply from Corona to Despot, Madam Speaker. And that is true. And Public Works is there. The container source, we know. Okay? So, Madam Speaker, there are other contractors. And we have a migration of our skills men in the construction industry, Madam Speaker. Know for a fact of the contribution that construction does to GDP. Right. So empower them, don't empower one, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, we have in the Mao constituency, Madam Speaker, we've heard about how dynamic the Maho constituency is. We heard from the Honourable Minister of Trade about how Roseau is a little New York. But Maho is the metropolitan and the lifeline of maybe any community in Dominica, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's a dynamic one, as I say, and we have a lot of potential. And if exploited, Madam Speaker, it can become a key revenue generator in Dominica. And I'm not speaking about the village, I'm speaking about the constituency. From Canefield, Darroux, Warner, Layo, Despo, I'm talking about them. If we look at housing, we look at the factory, we look at the fishing industry, we look at manufacturing, we look at call centers, we look at telecommunications, we look at airport, seaport facilities, historic sites, availability of lands for agriculture, housing development, and also mining, Madam Speaker. I'm talking about revenue. Because if these monies that we are budgeted for to come from the majority of the sales of CBI passports, we need to have monies invested in revenue-generated projects right now. And I mean right now. So, Madam Speaker, we see still, there are still uncleared landslides on the mine road surfaces. We have cut-off road lanes across the country too, and particularly the Warner Road, the Imperial Road, Campbell to Despo, Alequette Road, Madam Speaker. We still have landslides there lingering post-Erica, Madam Speaker. And those landslides and them are dangerous. They inhibit the farmers and the people from moving in very close proximity from one point to the other. Madam Speaker, I must say at this time, when I asked for questions for response on the 23rd of May 2017 to the appropriate persons, I did receive answers, written answers, and I made representation towards those situations, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank this side for providing me with those answers, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, we see a road that is a very important road, but yet there is a disaster that lingers. It happens anytime a little rainfall, something happens. It's unpredictable. That's the Antrim, the section of that road between Canefield to Pocassi. That Antrim road, Madam Speaker. That Antrim section. I want to suggest that we engage the technocrats in lands and surveys and public works to put some monitoring systems there. They have the capacity to use the necessary equipment to monitor the landfalls and map things and plot things out so that information, data can be collected over a certain period and decide what sort of measure have to be taken. And we need also to realize as government, as public works, as communications and works, as transportation, as emergency movement, should that road really go or should it subside where it's impassable, we need to have an alternate route. And that's because I'm suggesting that the Warner Road to Sultan, to Jimmet, be rehabilitated and give it serious consideration. I suggest that the Alequette Road be given serious consideration in this light, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, the Jimmet Road, the emergency road access, Madam Speaker, is a very critical one. I note as well, Madam Speaker, DCP reopening. The Honourable Minister of Finance and Prime Minister stated that $2 million was given. This is the type of financing, Madam Speaker, which the CBI should be investing in. However, information I've gathered lately says that the number of employees is 10, and then it will increase to a certain amount. And that's what I'm saying. you could undercapitalize a project and it will fail. The project can be a good project. If you know what you need to get 100 persons in there and get it back to production, now is the time to do it. We cannot go having 10 persons alone when we know how many persons used to work there, what sort of production volumes we had, and export, and just 10. So I'm saying, let's have a plan for this too, so that our people can get jobs, Maho can get back the life, the constituency can get back the life that it had, the economic power that it had. Madam Speaker, we have roads which are terrible and underpasses which are terrible, Madam Speaker. And I don't know what liability does the government accept with all those incidences that are related to these bad roads. Because when you look at that section of that road in Larissus Estate, leading up to an area that we call Shai, just past the Petro-Carib and Fine Foods area, there are two underpasses. One, there was a bridge that was undermined by the river. Secondly, a culvert crossing was made there temporarily. Both of them are in a state of repair, Madam Speaker. Okay? So, when I looked at the government's established allocation of persons in the public service, Madam Speaker.
You have 5 minutes left.
I see that. I want 5 minutes. I need 5 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I move that the member be given 5 minutes to complete his presentation.
Second, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the member be given a further 5 minutes to complete his contribution. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? No.
Madam Speaker, in a ballpark thing, Madam Speaker, we need to look at the revenue gains from all these expenses that are going on. I think the idea of the fiscal committee and thing is a good idea, but the whole construct of it is something else, Madam Speaker. I think if we take that and put it in place as part of the budget manager duty and ensure that critical things are done, we should see better, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I need to touch on the persons affected by Erica in Campbell. I got a response to that government has assisted them and whatnot, but people always have frustration, Madam Speaker. We always have government come and tell us certain things, and they never fulfill it. We had it in the 80s when Good Hope was designated a disaster area. It seems it is repeating itself in some parts of Dominica, like in Petit Savan, and the road connecting Delices to Petit Savan as well. I think we really have to look at those things. Madam Speaker, the road supervisors and inspectors, they are zero in the allocation of the established post of the public service. I think those numbers need to prop up to 1, 2, 3, or 4, and with districts, so that underpasses can be monitored, roads can be monitored, the right reports can reach the Honourable Minister of Communications and Work, Madam Speaker. Let me go to our environment, Madam Speaker. Sanitation. Sanitation, garbage collection, recycling, and organic manure, and those things, Madam Speaker. It is important that we take those things seriously, education and all, because this ties in with the whole image of not just our backyard, our front yard too. Our front yard, it hinges directly on tourism. It hinges as well as on our health, Madam Speaker. So we need to take that seriously. Madam Speaker, I need to congratulate the common entrance students in our constituency. We have about 80 of them who passed. We have 13 from Maho, 36 from Massac, 12 from Warner, 7 from Campbell, and 12 from Pioneer. Also, I want to congratulate our youth in Darroux, a community that has been marginalized, Madam Speaker. Particularly this summer, we had about 40 students, children, who had a little 1 week fun activities and sports day. And that was done by Samantha Larrock and her cousin Tina. I made sponsorship, and the Honourable Par Rep as well did make sponsorship, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am standing, I'm not lying, Madam Speaker, and this man is saying. Madam Speaker, also, I think that the emerging Warner Farmers Group comprises of enterprising young men and women, which I caused to register a group and got them to attend certain seminars. And Madam Speaker, we are moving forward in that community to be self-sustainable, Madam Speaker. Lastly, Madam Speaker, I want to extend sympathies on behalf of my wife too, to the family of Michael Hector, Marriott Canoville, who is the Commissioner of Cooperatives, on the death of her mother, and the family of the Joseph family at Warner on the passing of Ado. Madam Speaker, also to my cousins of the late Bermelin, better known as Bolo, I want to extend my deepest sympathy. And also to Jean Pestiner, Madam Speaker, former DPP and police officer, Madam Speaker. In closing, Madam Speaker, in keeping with this year's budget agenda, we would want to see that our country is recovering, Madam Speaker. And I say, may God continue to open minds of our citizens and keep them at the stern to steering the ship for the development of Dominica for all under the United Workers' Party when elections are called, Madam Speaker. Have a good evening and thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have listened to some of the contributions from the gentleman on the other side of the House. And Madam Speaker, I really have to say that the opposition must stop speaking out of two sides of their mouth. Madam Speaker, they say that they were not consulted on the budget, and they need to be consulted on the budget. But Madam Speaker, just a few weeks ago, the Prime Minister invited all of the members of the opposition to the State House to discuss the development prospects for Dominica. He had a panel of persons to lead the discussions on development prospects for Dominica. Madam Speaker, not one of them showed up. None of them. Madam Speaker, I quote from the Prime Minister's statement at that consultation. He says, Madam Speaker, my assigned role this morning is to welcome you to this event. I am here like you as a participant. I have brought my pen and paper, and I am here to learn from your perspectives and experiences of the realities that confront us, and to work with you to formulate a best-case strategy going forward. Madam Speaker, all of the members of the opposition were invited to come and be part of this discussion on the development prospects for Dominica, for them to say how they perceive the country should be going, what they want to see happen in Dominica. Well, but they didn't come, Madam Speaker. But they come to the House today and last week to say that they were not consulted. But they had the opportunity, and they chose not to take advantage of it. So these are sour grapes now, Madam Speaker, coming to complain. But Madam Speaker, I think sometimes we fail to appreciate the situation that we experienced less than 2 years ago. Madam Speaker, less than 2 years ago, 90% of our GDP was wiped out by Tropical Storm Erica. And Madam Speaker, any fair-minded person would say that Dominica has come a very long way since then. Madam Speaker, despite the devastation to the country, this government was able to maintain and expand, Madam Speaker, our social safety net programs. Madam Speaker, last year we ensured that social security pensions would be no less than $300 a month. We introduced a health insurance pilot scheme to help young mothers. We increased the allowance paid to persons 70 years and older by 50% to $300 a month. We continue to provide for students at university. We expanded our small business development support. And Madam Speaker, the list goes on. And all of this, Madam Speaker, while attending to the repair, rehabilitation, and replacement of damaged infrastructure. So, Madam Speaker, this is the context in which I viewed this new budget that is before this House. Madam Speaker, I listened with amazement and indeed, Madam Speaker, with horror when the leader of the opposition stood in this honorable House and made what I consider to be an outrageous statement, Madam Speaker, that a government led by him would immediately suspend all geothermal activities and apply the funds identified for geothermal to wind, solar, and hydro. Madam Speaker, Dominica is on course to meeting our goal to have the entire island powered by renewable energy by 2020, Madam Speaker. Clean energy, Madam Speaker. Cheaper energy, Madam Speaker. And the leader of the opposition wants to send us back another 10, 15 years. But Madam Speaker, just out of curiosity, where on Dominica do we have enough available flat land to have the huge solar farms that one would require to power the entire island? Where? Where? And Madam Speaker, we may be able to put some solar panels to power a building. But if you're talking about providing power for the entire island, we're talking about having acres of flat land to put solar panels. So, Madam Speaker, we have to ensure that when we say things, we know what it is that we're speaking about. It must be practical. Madam Speaker, the comment from the leader of the opposition also displays an astonishing lack of understanding of how things work, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, people do not just give you money. People do not give you millions of dollars because they like you. People will give you millions of dollars for PR purposes. That's what the member for the Honourable Isaac Baptist says. For PR purposes, Madam Speaker, $80 million for PR purposes? Seriously? I mean, Madam Speaker, for you to get that kind of money, you have to get those persons to first buy in to your project concept, Madam Speaker. They must be convinced that it's a viable project. They must be convinced of the value and benefit to the country. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Senator Isaac Baptist wants us to believe that the World Bank, that the New Zealand government, that SIDS-DOC, do not believe that the geothermal project is a sustainable project, but they put in money in it. $30 million, $5.4 million in a project that you do not think is sustainable. And this is what the senator wants the people of Dominica to believe. Madam Speaker, Dominica's geothermal negotiation team, which has been ably led by Ambassador Henderson, has spent years discussing and negotiating with all of these entities that have now agreed to put millions of dollars into this project. Madam Speaker, this is after years of carrying out studies, getting experts to come to Dominica, negotiating documents, meeting with stakeholders. Madam Speaker, it is not easy getting money out of institutions such as the World Bank. Anybody who has had to deal with the World Bank knows how difficult it is for you to get money from them. And Madam Speaker, the World Bank is 100% behind the geothermal project. Madam Speaker, the government of New Zealand has committed $5 million worth of technical assistance to the project. They have done so because they know the value of it, Madam Speaker. Every time I speak with the High Commissioner to Dominica from New Zealand, Madam Speaker, she's very excited about the project. She has been pushing to ensure that Dominica gets the technical assistance that it needs to ensure that this project is coming to fruition, Madam Speaker. PR purposes, unsustainable. Madam Speaker, not only are our partners convinced that this government is on the right track, but they also see this project as setting an example for the rest of the region to follow, Madam Speaker. This is where we are. This is where we are, Madam Speaker. Dominica is on the right track. I am sure, Madam Speaker, that our partners would be horrified to hear that the leader of the opposition would throw away all of the hard work and planning that has gotten us to this point in favor of starting back at zero. And I just want to say to him, Madam Speaker, that the zero he would be starting back with would include zero funds, because the commitment that was made for all of those millions is for geothermal development, Madam Speaker. Geothermal, not wind, not hydro, not solar. It's for geothermal. And those funds are not transferable, Madam Speaker. So he would have to find his own source of money to fund his wind, his solar, and his hydro, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, the leader of the opposition stated in his rebuttal to the budget that the budget discloses no real investment to secure sustainable jobs. Really, Madam Speaker? Did we listen to the same budget? Madam Speaker, does he expect the government to open up a factory? But wait, Madam Speaker, I am sure I heard the Prime Minister say that thanks to the support of the government, the Dominica coconut products, the largest manufacturing plant in Dominica, will once more resume operations. Thanks to the government, the support of the government. Madam Speaker, in 3 years, that company is expected to employ at least 150 people. And those sustainable jobs, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, it is a fact that the government cannot employ everybody. It simply cannot. What the government must do, Madam Speaker, is to create an enabling environment for jobs to be created. And this is what this government has done, Madam Speaker. This is what this government is doing. Madam Speaker, the government met with different stakeholders in the private and the public sector. And we took on board as many of their suggestions as we were able to. In fact, Madam Speaker, I am sure that I heard the president of the DAIC say that she was very pleased with this year's budget and that all of their concerns were taken on board. That is people participation in the budget process, Madam Speaker. The government is consulting and taking account of the views of the public and private sector in its budget process. No sustainable jobs, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, what is the greatest challenge and complaint that businesses have? Lack of access to affordable financing. Madam Speaker, this year the Minister of Finance announced that the government is making available to manufacturers $15 million at concessionary rates, Madam Speaker. $15 million. Madam Speaker, that is money that they can use to expand their businesses, to buy inputs, to upgrade their plant. And Madam Speaker, when you expand, you need more workers. What does that translate to, Madam Speaker? Sustainable jobs. Sustainable jobs. And of course, Madam Speaker, that's in addition to making $10 million available for agriculture last year and $15 million available for the tourism industry. And so, Madam Speaker, the government has taken a deliberate decision to ensure that affordable financing is available. All you have to do is put yourself in a position to take advantage of it. That's all you have to do, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I want to make the point that with those facilities were made available after government consulted with those sectors, Madam Speaker. Those sectors said, this is what we want. These are the terms and conditions under which we want it. And the government said, okay. And it made it available to them, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, when the Prime Minister was outlining all of the sources and avenues that was being made available to help and encourage businesses, Madam Speaker, I looked across at the Honourable Member for Roseau Central. He was clapping. He was clapping. Madam Speaker, you could tell he was saying, wow, boy, that's good. Boy, that government working. Huh? That's what you were saying. Huh? That's what you were saying. But of course, Madam Speaker, I think his face fell a little bit when he realized, when the Prime Minister said, well, those funds will not be made available for refinancing. So there's a little bit of disappointment there, Madam Speaker. But he sees that this is a progressive budget, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, under the Citizenship by Investment program, we have 5 approved development projects. And 2 of those projects, Madam Speaker, are very advanced. Madam Speaker, when you visit the Kapinski site and the Jungle Bay site, it's a hub of activity, Madam Speaker. Things are happening. The people are working. Work is going on there, Madam Speaker, at a very fast pace. And Madam Speaker, between those 2 sites alone, 200 people are employed. And Madam Speaker, work is also ongoing on the Morocco Hotel. And we also anticipate that that hotel will be completed in the not too distant future. Madam Speaker, when these hotels are open, there will be jobs for managers, boutique owners, housekeeping and maintenance, Madam Speaker, groundskeepers, security officers. And Madam Speaker, that's just on the hotel site. You have the spin-offs, the farmers. They must supply the hotel with fish. You have the people engaged in pork and poultry. They have the opportunity to provide pork and poultry to the hotels. We have an abattoir where these meats can be properly processed, Madam Speaker. And all of that is part of a plan, Madam Speaker. We are working towards ensuring that we put ourselves in a position where we can provide quality products, Madam Speaker. We have an abattoir. We can ensure that the birds and the pigs are properly slaughtered and are properly sliced and properly packaged to sell to those hotels, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there are opportunities for florists to ensure that the hotels are kept pretty with flowers and so on. The farmers, the fishermen. And Madam Speaker, we say that there isn't work for the youth. Madam Speaker, these are opportunities that are available for the youth. How do they position themselves to be able to provide services to those hotels? Should they not get together, Madam Speaker, and look at creating different businesses that can help supplement or complement the hotels? Should they not come together and begin already to have greenhouses that can produce or grow trees that can be used by the hotel in landscaping their premises? Should they not look at getting together to provide other services, Madam Speaker, to the hotels? So the possibilities there are endless. And all of those, Madam Speaker, are sustainable jobs. Sustainable jobs. But Madam Speaker, the government has not stopped there. The government has created the enabling environment for people to set up and improve their businesses to be able to supply the demand that these hotels will bring. And so, Madam Speaker, money has been made available for small business development. And I am sure my colleague, the minister responsible for small business, would speak to all of the many incentives and initiatives that her ministry is supervising, Madam Speaker. But you would have heard some of our colleagues speak about the benefits that have been derived thus far from the $13.5 million that has been spent on small business in the last financial year, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we saw that a beautiful bag was brought to Parliament and displayed by the Honourable Representative for the Soufriere constituency, Honourable Charles, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, it was a beautiful bag, looks like it is very well crafted and is of very high standard, Madam Speaker. And I want to congratulate her constituent for doing that. And she explained to the House, Madam Speaker, that this was made possible because her constituent was the recipient of a small business grant. That is the quality of work that our people can produce, Madam Speaker, once they are supported. And this is what this government is doing, providing support to people like that, Madam Speaker. And perhaps, Madam Speaker, when Jungle Bay Resort opens, she may have a small boutique at Jungle Bay to sell her stuff. Or perhaps at Kapinski Hotel, she may have a small boutique there. And maybe, who knows, eventually she may be able to export her products, Madam Speaker. So this, Madam Speaker, is what the government is doing. We are empowering people to be able to provide for themselves, to provide for their families, Madam Speaker. So now is the time. We have to be innovative, we have to be entrepreneurial, and we have to seize the opportunity, Madam Speaker. The environment has been created, we must seize it. Now is the time. Now, Madam Speaker, I want to address the issue of electoral reform. And again, Madam Speaker, I go back to how I started, that the opposition seems to speak out of both sides of their mouth. Yep. Madam Speaker, the opposition says that they want electoral reform. But really and truly, do they really want electoral reform, Madam Speaker? I don't think so. Madam Speaker, they said that they wanted voter identification cards. They said that they wanted a cleanup of the electoral register. But, Madam Speaker, when we brought the legislation to Parliament, they brought their protesters outside Parliament to agitate against it. Do they want it, Madam Speaker? And, Madam Speaker, what is their excuse? That the government is trying to legalize bribery and treating. Madam Speaker, they hang their hat on a statement that was made by electoral observers from the Commonwealth, that there were multiple instances of treating and bribery, including the transportation of electors to the island to vote. Madam Speaker, that statement is flawed. And I will tell you why. That very issue has been litigated in the court. And not only the courts of Dominica, Madam Speaker, the courts in the region. And the courts have consistently ruled that the facilitation of transportation of voters to vote in and of itself does not constitute bribery, Madam Speaker. The courts have said so. They have said so. They have also said what can constitute bribery and treating. And, Madam Speaker, based on what the courts have said can constitute bribery and treating, the government felt that it was necessary to spell that out in the legislation so that everybody would know what constitutes bribery and treating in accordance with how the courts have interpreted it, Madam Speaker. That is what the government brought to this House, Madam Speaker.
And they protest.
But they protest. But, Madam Speaker, some of us do not seem to want to educate ourselves, Madam Speaker. It seems that we prefer to practice scaremongering, frightening the people, instead of seeking to educate the people, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the government has on many occasions signified its commitment to introducing voter ID cards for elections. And Madam Speaker, that necessarily involves a cleanup of the electoral list or the electoral register. And Madam Speaker, you will recall that at first the Electoral Commission had wanted to introduce the OECS multi-purpose identification card, or the MPID card. And they informed later that they had problems with the supplier. I think the supplier had sold its business and so on. And so they had to switch to another system, which was even more sophisticated than the MPID, Madam Speaker. And so the Electoral Commission requested that the government provided with the resources to implement electoral reform. They asked government to make the funds available for the new ID card system and for the implementation of the confirmation exercise, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, what the Electoral Commission asked for, the government agreed to. Government has approved over $6.1 million, Madam Speaker, for that project. $6.1 million. And government has also approved the staff requirement that the Electoral Commission has asked for. Now, Madam Speaker, it is my understanding that the Electoral Commission has proceeded to commission the development of the modern identification card system, that the system has been developed, Madam Speaker, that the system has been installed at the Electoral Office, Madam Speaker. It has been tested, the staff have been trained, and the system is ready for deployment, Madam Speaker. We're ready. We're ready. They have even begun to recruit young persons, 15 young persons, I'm told, to serve as enrollment officers. So what are we waiting for? What are they waiting on, Madam Speaker? They are waiting on the legislation, Madam Speaker. What they are waiting on to move full speed ahead and start the confirmation process, start issuing the ID cards, Madam Speaker. But they cannot do so unless and until the legislation has been passed by this Parliament to enable them to proceed, Madam Speaker. Now, Madam Speaker, the legislation in question was reviewed by the Electoral Commission over several months, clause by clause, line by line. And when they completed their review, Madam Speaker, it came back to the government. And the Chief Elections Officer was empowered by the Commission to work with the AG's office to finalize the legislation, Madam Speaker. And he did so. And we came here with it. But the opposition, they blocked it, Madam Speaker. The same people who want electoral reform, the same people who want ID cards, the same people who want the voters list to be cleaned up, Madam Speaker. But the legislation that is necessary for that to be done, they don't want it to be passed, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Electoral Office is ready. We must give them the tools they need to do their work. We must put the legislation in place to empower them to begin the re-registration and the confirmation and identification card process. Now, Madam Speaker, I heard the opposition leader say that all re-registration of voters must be done by the Commission exclusively in Dominica and should be done within 6 months or less, in essence. Right, Madam Speaker? So essentially, Madam Speaker, this is what he's saying. What he's saying to all our registered voters who live overseas, that if you want to continue to vote in Dominica, you will have 6 months to find the money to come down to Dominica to re-register. Whether you can get time off from your work, whether you can afford to come, if you don't come to Dominica to re-register, your name will be taken off the list. This is what we want to say to Dominicans, Madam Speaker.
Members, please, can we conduct ourselves with a little more decorum? Members, please, hush your mouth across the table is not doing well. I'm the one to be saying hush your mouth and I'm not saying it. Well, anyway, I'm saying it now. Well, please be quiet. But I'll say it in a parliamentary way. Please be quiet so that the member can make her contribution.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, our Dominican citizens who are out there working hard, who are sending remittances to their family, Madam Speaker, who are sending remittances to help to build this country, Madam Speaker. The leader of the opposition is saying to them, I don't care how you do it. Find the money and come home within 6 months to re-register. If you cannot do that, you're out. That's it for you. Don't think you're going to be able to vote in the elections again. Is that the message we want to send to our hard-working Dominicans outside there, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, this government, led by Roosevelt Skerrit, will never allow that, Madam Speaker. Never. We will not be party to any unjustified disenfranchisement of people, Madam Speaker. We will not be party to any denial of the right of citizens to vote in their country's elections, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in some countries, people have died to get the right to vote. So this is not something that you can take lightly, Madam Speaker. This is a fundamental right of a citizen, the right to vote. And the leader of the opposition wants to take away that right from people who care about their country. People who sacrifice for their country, Madam Speaker. People who come home every election time to vote, Madam Speaker, so that their voice can be heard, Madam Speaker. That is not right, Madam Speaker. And this government will never allow that, Madam Speaker. So now, Madam Speaker, I want to speak briefly on the issue that was raised about the new U.S. requirements. And Madam Speaker, I do not understand, and I will never understand why the leader of the opposition cannot bring himself to say good things about this country, Madam Speaker. Why he persists in portraying the country in the worst light possible, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the United States informed the world at large that they are establishing a new set of standards regarding the information that all foreign governments should share with the U.S. government. All, without exception, Madam Speaker, to allow the U.S. government to verify the identity of all foreign travelers and immigration applicants to ascertain that they do not pose a threat to the U.S. security or public safety. And so, Madam Speaker, they sent a questionnaire to all governments to fill out to help them assess whether countries meet those standards. And Dominica is no exception. They sent it to us as well, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, the full text of the communication and the questionnaire was in the media. It was in the media for everybody to see and read. So I have no doubt, Madam Speaker, that the leader of the opposition saw exactly what the U.S. was asking. How does he react, Madam Speaker? He writes to the United States, Madam Speaker, and tells the United States, in effect, that Dominica issues passports to people from terrorist hotspots and issues diplomatic passports to criminals, and that Dominica is compromising the global security architecture against terrorism. Can you believe that, Madam Speaker? That a citizen of Dominica, and more so a leader of the opposition, would send something like that to the U.S. And Madam Speaker, he will probably say that he didn't write it to the U.S. But when you write the Prime Minister and copy it to the U.S. Ambassador, that is exactly what you are doing, Madam Speaker. And all Dominicans should condemn that, Madam Speaker. I have seen, Madam Speaker, I have seen that letter. And I am disgusted by that letter, Madam Speaker. I am disgusted that a Dominican would write such a letter about Dominica. You will encourage people to sue you, but then when they get a judgment, you don't want to pay it. So, Madam Speaker, the countries that the leader of the opposition refers to as terrorist hotspots. Madam Speaker, some of these countries are the very countries that many other countries, including the countries of Europe and to some extent the US, they have accepted hundreds of thousands of migrants from those countries, Madam Speaker. Those same countries. Madam Speaker, we've approved a few thousand who have gone through 3 levels of due diligence, Madam Speaker. They've gone through 3 levels of due diligence before we have approved them, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have been at pains to explain the process for months. The leader of the opposition has heard it from ministers. He has heard the process described by the public officers, Madam Speaker. But no, he insists, Madam Speaker, on trying to undermine the CBI program. He insists on painting a picture of this country as a threat to the United States. Why would you do something like that, Madam Speaker? Why would you do something like that about a country you claim to love? After all, Madam Speaker, what the leader of the opposition doesn't know, or what he doesn't care to know, Madam Speaker, is that we cooperate closely with the United States, Madam Speaker. That's right. They are very aware, even if he does not want to be aware of the processes that we follow, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in fact, when the U.S. Embassy they called me, Madam Speaker, to alert me before they sent the questionnaire. And they said to me, we have to send you a questionnaire. But they told me that I know that for a lot of those things that we're asking about, you already provide the information. But we have to send it, because that is the instructions that we got, that it must be sent to all governments so that we can gather the information that's necessary. What in that, Madam Speaker, you must take and send the kind of letter that Lennox Linton sent to the U.S. Embassy, the leader of the opposition sent to the U.S. Embassy, Madam Speaker, trying to say that Dominica poses a security threat to the United States? After all, Madam Speaker, I wish to say that Dominica has responded to the U.S. fully. We have responded to the U.S. fully within the time requested, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, while some people are bent on destroying, the government is focused on building. Madam Speaker, this government is focused on putting more money in the hands of its people to build Dominica, to build their businesses, to educate our people, to empower the youth, and to empower our professionals, Madam Speaker. This is what this government is doing, Madam Speaker. And, Madam Speaker, on that note, I just want to touch briefly on the income tax measures and say that I am very pleased to see the increase in the tax threshold from 25,000 to 30,000, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that is putting more money in the hands of people. This will benefit all of us who pay income tax, Madam Speaker. Those of us who earn $2,500 or less a month will no longer pay income tax, Madam Speaker. And everybody else will pay a little less. So, Madam Speaker, it looks like we will have even more to look forward to, because the Honourable Prime Minister has indicated that he wants a new National Fiscal Policy Panel to look into the possibility of creating a flat tax rate, Madam Speaker. And if I understand what the Prime Minister has indicated in his budget correctly, Madam Speaker, he's asking them to consider removing the 25% band, and that tax will only be paid by people who reach the 30% tax band, Madam Speaker. So it may very well be, Madam Speaker, that if that is introduced, that your first $75,000 will be tax-free, Madam Speaker. And that would be a fantastic thing, Madam Speaker. These are the progressive things that this government is thinking about while other people are trying to destroy it. But, Madam Speaker, I will borrow a phrase from my colleague, Dr. Mack, the Honourable Minister for Economic Planning. This budget, Madam Speaker, is a people-centered budget. That is what it is, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, just to touch very briefly on the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, Madam Speaker, we continue to work with our partners to achieve government's policy. We continue to pursue alliances with countries who can provide technical and financial assistance to Dominica, as well as funding for different projects. Madam Speaker, over the last year, we have established relations with 2 new European countries, notably Turkmenistan and the Kyrgyz Republic. And we are also currently considering establishing relations with 3 more. Madam Speaker, we have sought permission also to establish a full consulate in Guadeloupe. As you may know, we have been functioning with an honorary consulate in Guadeloupe for many years. And Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Chaudiers who have been provided sterling service to the Commonwealth of Dominica over the years, Madam Speaker. They have done a fantastic job. But it's time now, Madam Speaker, for us to allow them to retire comfortably and to put somebody in there who can provide full consulate services, Madam Speaker. So we hope to get the green light soon so that we can continue to provide support and indeed expand services to all our nationals in the French territories, Madam Speaker. We also continue to participate in important discussions at the regional, multilateral, and international level on a variety of important issues, Madam Speaker, such as climate change, the new EU-ACP relationship, among many others, Madam Speaker. And we also look forward to the successful election of Dr. Carissa Etienne to serve another term as the director of PAHO. Madam Speaker, Dr. Etienne has provided dynamic leadership at that organization. And she has worked very hard on important health issues affecting our region. And of course, we anticipate the full support for her re-election later this year. So we want to keep her in our prayers and to let her know that the people of Dominica are supporting her 100%, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I wish to state that although the opposition has tried their best to deny that this is an exciting budget, Madam Speaker, it is an exciting budget, Madam Speaker. The majority of Dominicans are pleased with the budget. Some on the other side are actually pleased with the budget. They may not want to say so, but they are pleased with the budget, Madam Speaker. There is something in this budget for everybody, Madam Speaker. And the government has set out a clear plan to realize a modern, prosperous Dominica. I am happy to be part of this team, Madam Speaker, and I fully endorse and support this budget. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Excellent.
Well done.
You have to sit. Yeah. Madam Speaker. No, Madam Speaker, I'm not going to yield. Yes. No, I'm not going to. Madam Speaker, I too rise to make my contribution, of course, to lend my support to the 2007-2018 budget estimates before this Honourable House. Before I begin, Madam Speaker, permit me, of course, to reach out to all my constituents. Also, my two greatest fans, my dad and my sister, who I'm sure are listening and watching via Channel 7 GIS. Also, my members of my constituency association, who I'm sure have been waiting wholly to listen to my presentation. Madam Speaker, in addition, it would be remiss of me if, as the Minister of Health, I did not also reach out and ask this Honourable House, this Honourable Parliament, to also reach out in prayers and thoughts, Madam Speaker, to the family and friends and also constituents of the Honourable Ivor Stevenson. the Member of Parliament for the Granford constituency, who happens also to be the Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Health and Environment, who I like to call my level-headed deputy. Madam Speaker, I can be a little erratic, spontaneous. He is the voice of reason sometimes to tell me, Doc, cool out, etc. So you want to remember him in our prayers, Madam Speaker, from all reports. He's been progressing satisfactorily, and we're hoping that in the very near future we would have Honourable Ivor Stevenson back with us, Madam Speaker, and to continue to do work, the good work that he's been doing. Madam Speaker, because Honourable Ivor Stevenson, Madam Speaker, epitomizes what we call service, Madam Speaker. He spent probably a decade or two within the public service as a senior environmental health officer, and then during the latter time, a second-time member of Parliament for the Granford, Morton John River 60 constituency. And of course, his good, mild-mannered nature, Madam Speaker, he would have served with these distinctions. I want all of us to remember him. Madam Speaker, I also would like to, I realize that the members of the opposition did not congratulate Senator Monel Williams. I realize that she's been missing from the House for a couple sittings. I was reliably informed, I can say it in public, by, of course, her colleague on the West Coast, Honourable Sparks, that she gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. So I want to congratulate her, Madam Speaker. I think this merits some congratulations. Although this seems to have been the best kept secret from the Parliament, but I was reliably informed that she gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. So congratulations. And also, Madam Speaker, want to congratulate the speakers before me. Such wonderful presentation. And in particular, Senator Tong, I realize the member for Rosa Central, he moved out. Rosa Central, Honourable Senator Robert Tong, Madam Speaker, spoke like a boss in local parlance. And clearly, Madam Speaker, he runs things in the capital city of Rosa Central, Honourable Tong. Yeah. So I'm sure you're listening, Honourable Tong, you run things, Rosa is yours. Madam Speaker, to get into the discussion, the budget discussion, I would, of course, like to congratulate the Minister of Finance and his staff for such a comprehensive budget. More has been said before it. I'm not going to repeat what has been said, the people's budget. And with a decrease in taxes, Madam Speaker, decrease in tax threshold that Senator Francine Baron just spoke about, accentuation, Madam Speaker, of the social programs. And especially, Madam Speaker, it's important, this needs to be underscored in the post-Erica period. And while not wanting to abuse the term Tropical Storm Erica, Madam Speaker, we have to understand, as I've said many times before, at many different fora, that Tropical Storm Erica did happen, and it did leave us $1.4 billion EC dollars in debt. It did wipe away over 90% of our GDP. So we cannot not mention Tropical Storm Erica. In other words, Madam Speaker, we should be in a period now where the government would have asked the citizens, Mr. Speaker, sorry, it's the citizens to make sacrifices, to accept pay cuts, late payments, etc. However, what we've seen, Madam Speaker, is an increase and intensification, Mr. Speaker, sorry, of so many of our social programs. We've seen new programs introduced. Earlier this year, Mr. Speaker, we launched what we call the Community Road Rehabilitation Project, where we said by the end of 2017 that all community roads, all village roads will be rehabilitated. And at the rate we go in, Mr. Speaker, and I'm sure you move around the island quite a bit, at the rate we go in, we will meet this target of rehabilitating all community and village roads by the end of 2017. So this is commendable, Mr. Speaker, that after just, in fact, less than 2 years after tropical storm, a major tropical storm, such as Erica, we could present a $900 million budget to the Dominican people. Of course, Mr. Speaker, just as eloquent was the Minister of Finance presentation to this Honourable House, in sharp contrast, Mr. Speaker, to what I like to call the blaster-skiting of the leader of the opposition. That's a new word I learned thanks to a very dear friend of mine. If you want the meaning, Mr. Speaker, blaster-skite is somebody who says a lot without saying nothing. And of course, he was, of course, echoed by his team. More recently, I was about to call him Father Thomas because of his dress. I'm Senator Felix Thomas. He was just like a priest. I was about to say Father Thomas, but Felix Thomas. Where they, according, and again, I want to echo Senator Francine Baron, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. They blow in hot and cold at the same time. How can you talk about getting rid of geothermal after $50 million investment. You're talking about creating a green economy and renewable energy. Mr. Leader of the Opposition, geothermal is also green energy. So why waste $50 million that you've already invested? Each type of renewable energy comes with its own peculiar infrastructure. So you're talking about right now going to capitalize, invest in all of this hardware for the wind, hardware for, because they spoke about a combination of each of these resources, hardware for the wind, another hardware for damming and all of this for hydro, hardware for, help me out, the solar panels. And they spoke about the public buildings. You see, Mr. Speaker, the problem with the opposition is they don't read. They come, they have their things in their head, and they don't read the material provided to them. Because if they read, or if they did read what was provided to them, they would understand that in the budget this year, for example, the Ministry of Health, $5 million towards smarting 4 health centers. And these smart hospitals mean that we are now going to put in renewable energy, solar panels, on this very same public building that you're talking about. So we are well on the way. We are well on the way. If you look through the estimates for the Ministry of Environment, you'll see many projects, there are sub-projects under the DVRP, many sub-projects that is geared toward moving towards low renewable energy, solar lights, etc. So they need to read instead of having the things in their head, like what they call a muto batali. It's called in local parlance. They don't have the thing in their head, and they hear nothing else, and they hear nothing else. And translate, I'm not sure, muto is sheep, I don't know from. Yes, but batali sheep. Because Mr. Speaker, he came, for example, criticizing, for example, our sanitation and eradication of pit latrine program. At the same time, he's talking about garbage collection. Mr. Speaker, he's blowing hot and cold. We are well on the way, Honourable Reginald Austri, with our latrine program, eradication or elimination of pit latrine, to achieving Sustainable Development Goal number 6, clean water and sanitation. And in fact, we all know that when the Honourable Prime Minister launched this program some years ago, they laughed at it. Mr. Speaker, I will tell you from personal experience, I was a poor country boy, so I can tell you, from personal experience, it's not a laughing matter. And I think Honourable Dr. McIntyre tried to give a little, and I'm sure Reginald Austri, the Minister for Housing, will give a little more detail. You know, he's better at giving details than myself, and in fact, better than anybody in there. It's not a laughing matter. And as we speak in the community of Bagatelle Saint-Jean, we have to date received monies for over 90 washrooms, Mr. Speaker. Almost $1 million invested in the elimination of pit latrine. So by the end of this year, if all goes well and the contractors do what they have to do in a timely manner, by the end of this year, yours truly will be a very proud member of Parliament saying that I have eliminated pit latrines in the Bagatelle, Saint-Jean, Point Carib, and FAB communities, Mr. Speaker. And I'll be very proud of that as a citizen, as a Minister of Health, and of course, as a Member of Parliament. He spoke about employment, but yet still we heard the owner of Jungle Bay, Mr. Sam Raphael, who coincidentally ran against me 2 elections back and got a strong beating, I might add. But we're still friends. Who coincidentally, he ran on an independent ticket, but we all knew that he was aligned to them. And of course, recent developments would have showed that he really was aligned to them. That is why when he came out with his white flags all in the PD7 constituency, I remember at the meeting in Bagatelle, I told him, boss, show your true colors. Show your true colors. We all know you were United Workers' Party, okay? You don't know. I was about to use a bad adjective. Sorry, Mr. Speaker. I checked myself in time. You not know independence. You not know beep independence. You with me? So he ran against me. But we heard him come out, Mr. Speaker, a couple of weeks ago, and we heard what he said. The leader of the opposition, in sharp contrast to what our Prime Minister after Erika, he said he looked into the eyes of the Prime Minister. I mean, we don't get any ideas here, right? But he looked into his eyes and he saw sincerity. He saw that the Prime Minister really cared and told him, Mr. Raphael, we are going to help you to build back Jungle Bay. What did the opposition leader tell him? The same one who's talking about employment and creating 5,000 jobs in 3 years. He told him, don't build under this corrupt government. Do not build. So how can you be saying that you're so concerned about the employment of the youth? Because Jungle Bay, Mr. Speaker, provided jobs to, I'm sure, close to over 100 people in the PD7 Delices, Lapland area. Not to mention the other peripherals, the fishermen, the farmers who supply Jungle Bay with fish, vegetables, and provisions, etc. So how can you be saying in one side of them, wow, don't build back, and at the same time you come in, 3,000, it's possible, 5,000 jobs in 3 years. Mr. Speaker, they need to get their act together and they need to read. But then again, typical of the opposition, and again I will go back. Honourable Baron, I should have really spoken before you because you said a lot of what I wanted to say. Mr. Speaker, blowing hot and cold, Mr. Speaker, they made a big fuss about cheating. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, sorry, but I'm going to tell you a little secret. We, the Labour Party, we are a giving and caring party. So we wouldn't say that a certain member of one of the Roseau constituencies candidate, election morning, sharing styrofoams to the, what they call the pyros on the street. It wasn't bribery at all or cheating, Mr. Speaker. We'll say that he was doing the first, no, I'm just saying, Mr. Speaker, we on this side take it to mean, I'm not a Roman Catholic, but I think it's called the first corporal works of mercy. The first one, feed the poor. He was feeding the poor, Mr. Speaker, at the time, and not feeding the pyros to entice them to vote for him that particular day. We take it as he just being a very good Roman Catholic, a very good Christian, and feeding the poor, unfortunate vagrants of Roseau Central. Madam Speaker, moving on. Madam Speaker, I now move on, Madam Speaker, to the, Mr. Speaker, sorry, to the portfolio that was entrusted to me approximately 2.5 years ago, the Ministry of Health. And Mr. Speaker, I must say, you Dominicans can look at me, you look into a very happy Minister of Health, Mr. Speaker, an extremely happy and satisfied Minister of Health. And although I missed his presentation, thank God I missed it, the one they call the shadow Minister of Health, I think the member for Roseau North, I think he's supposed to be my shadow. I don't want him anywhere close to me. I don't want him anywhere close to me, Mr. Speaker, but he's supposed. I missed his presentation, and I understood that his whole presentation was really criticizing the health system. Mr. Speaker, and as a citizen of Dominica, as a Minister of Health, as a medical doctor by profession, Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to sit or stand here and allow people to lambaste our health system that way. Mr. Speaker, we are gaining ground. Sure, we still have a long way to go. No one is saying we don't have. Of course, we have a long way to go. But I think it's incomprehensible, Mr. Speaker, that someone who call themselves, and they call themselves patriot, if they could wear T-shirts saying patriot every day, they would. Patriot, we love Dominica. And you go about lambasting a system that way. We are making ground, Mr. Speaker, and I'm very proud of where we are right now as a Ministry of Health. And I'll tell you why. Just to read this 2017-18 report that was prepared for me, Mr. Speaker, and if you may allow me to read to the Honourable House. No, I'm not going to read the whole report. It's okay. I'm not like you guys. If you realize, I hardly check the notes. Like many other Caribbean countries, hypertension and diabetes, what we call chronic non-communicable disease, part of it, contribute significantly to the burden of disease in Dominica. These two conditions combined account for 98% of all visits to the primary healthcare system. Yet, it should be noted that these two conditions are no longer the #1 cause of death in Dominica. These two conditions are no longer the #1 cause of death in Dominica. Contrary to, when contrasted to the World Health Organization figures, where they still tell you that this diabetes and hypertension or complications of this disease kill millions and billions of people across the world every year, Mr. Speaker. They are no longer. Why? Because of the fantastic job we are doing at the primary health care level and, of course, at the secondary care level. Number two, Mr. Speaker, just giving you a few of the gains we've had. In the past few years, Dominica has experienced several communicable disease outbreaks, namely chikungunya, Zika, etc. All these outbreaks, and we're talking about reports from PAHO, all these outbreaks were detected through our surveillance system, a system that is now used as the model system in the Caribbean, Mr. Speaker. You're listening to me, Mr. Speaker. Of note, the incidence of HIV and TB in Dominica is lowest among the OECS countries. Incidence rate of HIV/AIDS, 27.2 per 100,000 population, and TB, 1.4 per 100,000 population, Mr. Speaker. Listen to what they say here. Our service coverage, that is including immunization and antenatal visit coverage, public sector remains close to 100%. So while I'm not saying that we have a perfect health system, I mean, for crying out loud, we are a small island developing state, Mr. Speaker. I mean, we do have a long way to go, which is why right now we invest in over 117 million dollars in a new national hospital. Why don't they say these things? Why don't they say, well, yes, we know that? Because Mr. Speaker, I go on social media sometimes and I see some of the so-called patriots, especially those of their supporters in the diaspora. I mean, I remember seeing some pictures somebody sent across to me where this particular guy, who the leader of the opposition mentioned that he wants to lead the cause in his trauma centers across the island, whatever he's talking about. That particular guy posting pictures of health facilities, the hospital namely, the storage, the back of the hospital. Mr. Speaker, Papa Boje, the hospital has made its time, which is why we build a new hospital. So why post pictures of a current hospital? We know that the hospital has served its time, it's after time. It has made its time, translated. You understand? Which is why we're building a new national hospital, complete with modern equipment, Mr. Speaker. And we've gone a step further, because we realize that the building by itself and even the new modern equipment, MRI, we're talking about a high-frequency laser ultrasound treatment for treating cancers and tumors right here on the island. You with me, Mr. Speaker? New modern equipment. And we've already decided at the Ministry of Health and at the cabinet level that whatever equipment the project does not come with, that is befit into a modern facility, that we will procure it from. And we do have CBI funds, Mr. Speaker, and I want to say thanks that the CBI fund exists so we can make up for the shortfall, whatever the project doesn't come with. So, Mr. Speaker, as I said, we're making strides, and we try not to get distracted by the naysayers and the negative people who speak negative only. I mean, you man come here talking about, oh, no paracetamol in a hospital. What nonsense is this, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, about 100 paracetamol is $5. If you go to a health facility and for one reason or another, that maybe the stock clerk or the nurse, whatever, did not get a supply for the day, whatever, and they didn't have paracetamol at the time, whatever, you cannot go out there saying, the government is not buying paracetamol for the hospital. We just heard the Minister of Finance in his presentation. We increased the recurrent budget, not a one-time, not one time like you say, okay, boss, Doc, boss, going to bail you out and I give you $5 million. The recurrent budget means for every year from now on, we have increased our recurrent budget by $5 million to purchase new drugs, Mr. Speaker. Because we realize that whatever the formulary, which is the book that the pharmacists and the doctors use, to know what drugs are available, kind of outdated. In other words, the medication that have been procured for the past time, Mr. Speaker, as new diseases come out, we realize that we have new priorities. So, for example, the anti-cancer drugs, as we speak now, they have to be procured by the client or the family at the central medical stores. This is now going to be on the formulary for free. Drugs to treat the eye drops for glaucoma, eye drops, etc., which although $60 a bottle, but a lot of our folks, especially the elderly folks, our senior citizens, they cannot afford these things, Mr. Speaker. $5 million every year. Mr. Speaker, this is significant. So when you come here talking your beatties, sorry, Mr. Speaker, I'm from Petit Servant, so I like my little partner now and then, you're nonsense. Okay, you're nonsense talking about, oh, the hospital, the paracetamol, whatever, talking about this rubbish childhood playground. Read the material provided to you, read the budget, and then let's discuss. Fine, that's in there. Let us see what else should be in there. Okay, but you don't come there to blast in the health system like it's the worst in the world. I mean, Dr. Mark, I'm the Minister of plenty things, the Minister of plenty things, and planning, etc. Economic planning and some other portfolios I can't remember. Mr. Speaker, he made reference recently to a constituent of mine. I don't know if he made reference to that same person, but a constituent of mine who had probably like multiple fractures of both lower limbs, upper arms. We're getting ready to fly across to Martinique. I know she's not a minister, contrary to what they say, is ministers alone that we fly over. Mr. Speaker, as a Minister of Health, my 3 years so far, 2.5 years, anybody who cannot be treated here, okay, we make provisions. I have witnessed the National Bank open, the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, asked them that they be open on a Saturday morning to facilitate people to fly over, Mr. Speaker. Non-ministers. Not ministers. So that nonsense and that thing that they have going on, the ministers, before they fall sick, they fly over, Mr. Speaker. Okay, this is just not true. So this particular patient, Mr. Speaker, multiple fractures, they were making arrangements to fly over. One of our very own doctors decided, no, we can do this here. And the young lady was very happy to be here, because first and foremost, she would have to spend months over in Martinique, which is going to, increase the cost. Every day she's spending in hospital is going to be a cost to the government of Dominica. And of course, she being a supporter of ours, she was very, what's the word I'm trying to use, sympathetic, and she felt a little to the government, so she decided, no, let me stay here. I'm going to be here with my family. And the young lady recovering fine. And she said, I want to be a witness. I want to testify when people talk in their beaties, nonsense, sorry, about the government, about the health system, to prove them wrong, because here I am, where I had it very safely done right there in Dominica. Talk about the gains. Talk about the gains. Talk about a few years ago we had no intensive care, where many people maybe would have died. You with me? Talk about the gains, and then let's talk. Let's see what else we can do. You with me? But you don't come there trying to give the world, well, I guess your own shadow minister, you call yourself. Talk about, like nothing, like we have the worst health system. Just recently, Mr. Speaker, we had a cadre of Barbadian nurses who spent, I think, a couple of weeks here, Barbadian nurses, to study our primary healthcare system. So while really it's not what it used to be in glory days, we still have a very effective primary healthcare system. And the report I just read proves that. Right now, hypertension and diabetes is no longer the leading cause of death in Dominica because of the hardworking nurses and doctors in our system. So yes, Mr. Speaker, we have a long way to go. But I'm not going to sit here, or stand here rather, and allow some, well, shadow, whatever they call him, to come here and talk his nonsense. You know I will answer him. So we spoke about the new national hospital, a gift from the People's Republic of China, and I really want to take this opportunity, like I've done many times before, to thank the government and people of the People's Republic of China for this wonderful gift. A gift of $117 million, Mr. Speaker, is a good gift anywhere in the world. It could be 117 million yens, whatever, is still a lot of money. But in this case, it's 117 million EC dollars to build our new national hospital. And those of you listening, those of you here, because I realize, Mr. Speaker, because listening to the opposition, I realize they don't go anywhere. Anywhere something good happen, they don't go. They don't go, because when you hear the member for Rosa South talk about like nothing is happening in sports, Mr. Speaker. I mean, and somebody tell me he's always in my constituency. I don't know what divine revelation he thinks he has up there. He should go to Pitchland to look at the court, the modern court that I constructed in Pitchland, Mr. Speaker. A modern court, $100,000+ we spent on this. And we're going to replicate this in Bagatelle. So when you come here and talk your nonsense about nothing is happening in sport, obviously, Mr. Speaker, obviously they go to the places, nothing, we have something positive is happening, they don't go. They don't go to these places. Because if they had gone to the hospital, Madam Speaker, they would see the fast progress of the new hospital, Madam Speaker. And we hope that in October, we'll have the commissioning of the first phase, which is the A&E department, the new labs, radiology department, etc., Mr. Speaker. And I want to tell the nation that I'm very pleased with the progress of work on the National Hospital. On the National Hospital. Again, I mentioned that it comes equipped with, I think I mentioned earlier, it comes equipped with new equipment, modern equipment. And then I heard, I'm not sure who I heard speaking about specialists. You see, again, Mr. Speaker, they don't listen. They don't listen, they don't read. Because in many fora before this one, Mr. Speaker, I would have mentioned, as we speak, that we have dozens or more of sons and daughters, Dominicans, specializing overseas. Because a lot of times we hear the complaints that a lot of the consultant specialists that we have on island are either Chinese-speaking Cubans, and we have a language barrier. Right now, we have sons and daughters of Dominica. They speak English, Patois, and Kokoy, some of them, okay, to be able to better understand our patients in all of these exciting new specialties that the Honourable Minister of Economic Planning spoke about. Urology, men's health, and nephrology, intensive care, emergency medicine, oncology, just name it, Mr. Speaker. We are right now training people so that when this new hospital comes, we're not going to have a beautiful building only, you're going to have modern equipment and staff to the human resource to man that hospital. So that's why I said, Mr. Speaker, you're looking at a very happy Minister of Health, extremely happy. I could dance, I could break dance, if it was maybe on parliamentary behavior, Mr. Speaker. And one of the other things that I've always said, Mr. Speaker, at some other public fora, is all of this would be, well, let me use the word futile for want of a better word, if the average, who I like to call Joe public, doesn't have access to this equipment, which is why, Mr. Speaker, countries, much more mature economies, much more advanced economies, and countries before would have spoken decades about national health insurance. And we all know the difficulty that the great first black president of the United States, President Obama, had in America with Obamacare. Countries richer than us, But it had to take this Labour Party administration, the caring government, Labour Party administration, to install what they call a pilot national health insurance program. And we heard the recommendations from not from anybody in Dominica. We heard our power representative at the launching of this program, how we applauded the government for this bold move. Because the plan is that with this pilot program, which again, as the Minister of Foreign Affairs pointed out, we'll be targeting single mothers with children 3 years and below, I think 45 years and below, and children 3 years and below. The hope is that we're going to look at this pilot, see how it works out. Okay, then of course learn from the mistakes, do a little tweak in here, a little tweak in there, until eventually we add more vulnerable groups, senior citizens, etc., until each and every Dominican is covered. So it means that each and everybody will have equitable, the same access to the healthcare facilities. So this wonderful hospital building, the MRI, because let's not fool ourselves, the new hospital is going to cost a lot more money to maintain. Electricity, the equipment is going to be needing maintenance. Okay, all the new special consultants we're going to be employing, they're going to need to get paid and asking for good monies too. So let's not fool ourselves. All of this is going to cost money. So we want to right now put something in place that each and every Dominican. I know, Mr. Speaker, people like you, maybe you have multi-million-dollar or billion-dollar health insurance, so you know it'll take care of itself. But the majority of Dominicans, Mr. Speaker, cannot afford the conventional health insurance, which is why the aim is now to develop this pilot program into what they call a national health insurance plan. And we're well underway, and from all reports, this plan is working perfect. That's just page 1 I finished with. Oh, I'm talking a lot. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, in addition to the new national hospital, in this financial year, in fact, when I look at the Ministry of Health and budget estimate, I would say that we are the Ministry of Public Works, the number of infrastructural projects that we have carried for this year. 4 new health centers, in fact 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new health centers we are going to build. What is begin to construct in this new financial year, Mr. Speaker. Because, of course, we know the home of the greatest Prime Minister that ever walked the shores of Dominica, the Honourable Petter Saint-Jean. And of course, it's been a year or so that we've had it on the cards, so I need to ensure that I deliver to the Honourable Prime Minister his new health centre this year. In Newtown, and of course, it's also a controversial topic I'll come to in a while. Somebody just handed me some comment by one of the self-acclaimed really leaders of one of these unions, where she says that we are taking an auditorium to put a health center. Just to let her know that she doesn't have an auditorium, Mr. Speaker. We know that a year or so ago that the old Newtown Health Center, which really was a building that was being leased from the Roman Catholic Church. But of course, these buildings would have made their time, Mr. Speaker. They're very old. They would have made their time. So we now have to move now the services for health reasons to the Roseau Health Center. But given the large catchment area, Roseau Central and all of this, and the Roseau South area, Mr. Speaker, is a very largely populated area. So we now have to look for an area within the geophysical boundaries of the Roseau South constituency or the Newtown community to put a health center. Of course, we looked at a number of potential sites, and then our teams went out there, and the reports, when they came back to us, suggested to us that the old Newtown school, mark my words, the old Newtown school, meaning the school that used to house the Newtown primary school before, okay, with some remodeling, demolition, okay, we could convert it into a good health facility. Because this provoked more discussion about, health center close to children and infection, blah, blah, blah. Mr. Speaker, the people need to remember that. I mean, you see, it's again the MO. You know where these things are coming from, where they're being fed from. The same old rhetoric. The original health center was also close to a preschool for many years, for decades. Mr. Speaker, the Roseau Health Center in the Gardens is close to 2 schools, the Convent High School and also the Convent Preparatory. And also in the middle of a botanical gardens, Mr. Speaker, where people go through, lovers walk through up and down, and all hours of the day, Mr. Speaker. Okay, so they're now trying to use the issue that it's close to a primary school. And what hurt me the most, or not angered me rather the most, was the I wouldn't say the heights. What is the opposite of height? Help me out. The depth that some people will go, Mr. Speaker, okay, to try to make their point, okay, for selfish reasons. Where they penned the letter, and they had about 25 or so apparently toddlers, maybe little primary school children sign it, talking some nonsense about how they're going to be feeling threatened by being touched by people visiting the health center. And I mean education officials and community leaders put their signature to this letter, Mr. Speaker. What are you trying to say? That the people who visit the health center are pedophiles? Mr. Speaker, so I just want to send a clear message out to that particular union or whatever it is that she's head of, leader, that it is not her auditorium, it's the old Newton School, that the government has taken a decision that it is suitable to put a health facility, and we are going to go with it to stop misleading the nation. Because when you look at the article on the end, the article is giving the impression that we are going to put the health center within the new Newton Primary School, and that is not so. We have identified the old building, which we're going to remodify. Of course, we'll put security walls, etc., Mr. Speaker, to protect, of course, to demarcate the two. But that doesn't mean they cannot coexist. So I really want to reach out. I really want to send a clear message to whoever he, she, okay, that please, okay, we're going to go ahead with it, whether you like it or not. It's not the auditorium. This is the property of the government of Dominican. We decided, the experts have told us that it is suitable to house a health center, and we're going to go ahead with it. Health center in Corliho, and the Member of Parliament, Minister of Social Services, spoke to it, and she thanked me. Belleville-Chopin, which is, of course, closer to home, of course, part of the constituency. Because we realize that with the influx of residents to Belleville-Chopin, Mr. Speaker, that the little building that currently houses the Belleville-Chopin Health Center is not adequate for the 800 to 1,000 people, coming in from Petit Savan. And we've been told, of course, that maybe as early as January, February next year, the first set of residents will be moved. Anzime, Minister, a new health center in Anzime. In addition, we are going to upgrade, and I mean, so that is why I hear all of them, Mr. Speaker. I mean, you know, to you, Mempuel, sorry, they're all the same, talking the nonsense, huh? Sorry, all the members, Mr. Speaker. I mean, all of them speak because all of them speak the same rubbish. All of them speak the same rubbish. I mean, if leader is talking about he's going to be led by a great, Madam Speaker. Catch my breath. So, Madam Speaker, which is why I said that they need to read. They provided literature, and they need to listen. Listen to GIS. This is where you get the real information and not misinformation. We are going to upgrade 4 health facilities. We're going to smart them, boss. We're going to put Mr. Baptist and the others, Senator Baptist, we're going to put solar panels. The renewable energy, talking about the public buildings, this is what's going to happen. The new hospital, we're going to have an amount of energy, of our power from solar. Okay, so please educate yourself, you know, and inform yourself before you come and making all of this. The new Marigot Hospital is going to start in this new year, Madam Speaker. The much talked about Marigot Hospital. And you see, Madam Speaker, this is why sometimes, I mean, the leader of the opposition, the member for Marigot, needs to be honest with him, to himself and the Dominicans. He came there talking. He made so much noise. They had candlelight vigil in Marigot about the National Hospital. Now, he came there. He did not tell the nation that he was in a meeting with myself as a minister, called him to a meeting together with all the member of parliaments for the Marigot Health District catchment area, to include the member, Kalinago Minister, Honourable Rosen Paul, Senator Baptist, Ezekiel Baptist, the member of parliament for Wesley, and himself. We had a very nice meeting, a bit 2-3 hours meeting in the conference room of the Ministry of Health. They were even given snacks afterwards, Madam Speaker. We socialized for 5 minutes afterwards. That's the first time I saw him smile. And he even promised, he even committed, Honourable Minister Kalinago Affairs is there, he even committed into he going back to Marigot to placate the people and tell them the Ministry of Health has everything under control. So he's coming there now and not telling the nation and trying to give the impression that we're victimizing Marigot, because we went through all of the preliminaries. So I remember when he came to the meeting and the other members are here, they will tell you, I told him that, yes, I mean, the project has been a little slow starting. 2 years ago, Erica happened, etc. Then we also got caught up with the National Hospital. We can put all this behind us and let us inform you where we are and how we're going to move forward. And he was very pleased with the meeting. But it's not him coming here to say, well, thanks to the Minister of Health, or the Ministry of Health is really satisfied with the progress we're making towards the construction of Marigot Hospital, Madam Speaker. So this is why I said that we need to be very careful with this man. He's a very, 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 very dangerous man. So $18 million, budgeted towards the construction of a numerical hospital. Most of these funds, of course, would be a $5 million US grant from the government of Mexico. And of course, the government of Dominica will put in the counterpart funding, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I could go on and on to all the other wonderful projects within the Ministry of Health on the environmental portfolio. They're talking about how there's millions of dollars out there for climate change projects. Again, not reading, not informing themselves that as we speak, there's a $40 million US, again, 100 and somebody million DVRP project, Madam Speaker, funding, grant funding, and concessional loan funding. The member for Salisbury, he was present at the signing ceremony of a water tongue to be built along in his constituency, because this project, this DVRP project, Madam Speaker, is made up of a number of subcomponents, sub-projects, and he was present, and he was happy. I even told him that he can go back to, because he told me that he was out of the streets of Salisbury for a few days. I did, because of the water situation. So I told him it's okay, it's safe. We could go back there now to Montrachet, I think, because we're going to restore the water in Montrachet. So, Madam Speaker, they need to read, they need to read, Madam Speaker, they need to inform themselves, and then they can come here and make suggestions, Madam Speaker. So when you're talking, as I said, we spoke about the green economy, again, the leader of the opposition, green economy. And again, I reminded him that geothermal is green. I don't know why he thinks that geothermal is not green, and green is sun and wind and water or whatever. Geothermal is green. $50 million already invested in the project. In other words, we are much closer to the ending than we were to the start of the project. So why do you want to go back and start all over again? All over again, and put it suspended for what? When it's suspended, it means that you suspend $50 million. Suspended for what? To do what? You with me? So, but we are well on the way, Madam Speaker, and again, the Minister of Foreign Affairs articulated very well, Madam Speaker, that we are well on the way to, and Madam Speaker, and the good thing about this geothermal is not only will we have enough for ourselves, but because Dominica is so blessed, we also have the potential to sell foreign income, Madam Speaker, to sell to Martinique and Guadeloupe. The exports have told us that we have enough to sell overseas, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I now want to take the remainder of my time to just speak about my constituency. Again, like I said earlier, you look at a very happy Minister of Health. You also look at a very elated Member of Parliament for the PD7 constituency, Madam Speaker. And I will tell you why. So while, Madam Speaker, we know that approximately 2 years ago, Tropical Storm America dealt us a serious blow. In fact, the PD7 community proper was arguably the most affected by Tropical Storm America, where we had a number of deaths, I think 19 or 20 deaths, if I recall. Some of them, of course, close family, friends of mine. While he dealt us a serious blow, Madam Speaker, as a Member of Parliament, I can tell you that I am very, Madam Speaker, very, very, very satisfied with the government's response to my people post-Tropical Storm America. And I want to also state for the record, like I've done many times before, Madam Speaker, that I stand in solidarity with the government's decision, Madam Speaker, to ask the PD7 folks to evacuate from PD7, because we all saw what happened during Tropical Storm America. So while two of them, again, we go back to the community talking the nonsense, Madam Speaker, I stand resolute and in solidarity with the government decision. And I've said before, and I make no apologies for that, that whoever wants to go back to PD7, they're free to go back there, no barriers, no, it's not a crime, however, but that they go there at their own risk. Because not only did the government ask you to evacuate, we're also providing, in the meantime, temporary housing, where we pay the rent, displacement allowance. You heard the millions of dollars that have been spent on the PD7 people so far. And right now, Madam Speaker, we are now constructing a modern community, Madam Speaker, a modern suburban community, complete with all amenities that you can think of to house the PD7 people. So tell me, Madam Speaker, how else can the government respond to its people? We've seen much more developed countries after natural disasters, Madam Speaker, struggling. We can go to the most recent fire in England. I'm trying to remember the tower, Grenfell or whatever tower. Where I think Prime Minister May I'm committed just a one-time whatever to divide among the thousands of people living there. And they're on their own. You got Debuye call your Madam Speaker. She then Debuye calls up, meaning go and fend for yourselves, Madam Speaker. Interpret it, translate it, sorry. Go and fend for yourselves. The government has practically taken over each and every family from P7 since Erica 2 years ago, and telling that we will take care of you until such time as we can permanently relocate you in Bellevue Shopping, Madam Speaker. And that is commendable, Madam Speaker. Never before in the history of Dominica, or may I just say the sub-region of the Caribbean, or the world, has that ever happened, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I said, you're looking at a very happy member of Parliament, a very happy Pal Rep. During the course of the past, during the course of this year, we would have seen a lot of money invested in the P7 constituency. Roads in the Bagatelle Fawcett area, Madam Speaker, roads to the tune of over $1 million as part of our rehabilitation of community roads. We have done the road completely from Fawcett all the way to Fab, replaced a culvert bridge in Fawcett, rehabilitated that road that they call the Judy Road, Madam Speaker. All of this to the tune of well over $1 million. Earlier when I mentioned our washroom program in the Bagatelle Fawcett area, well over $1 million spent on the construction of over 90 washroom facilities to date, Madam Speaker. And we are well on the way to eliminating pit latrines in that particular area. My colleague Minister of Employment is already, the Honourable Ian Douglas. I want to thank him for the National Employment Program. And long live the National Employment Program. Long live the CBI to continue funding the National Employment Program, Madam Speaker. Because as we speak, I can boast to more than 100 interns within the P7 constituency, 40 plus in the Bagatelle area. And again, I invite some of you to take a drive to the area to see the work. You can see the tangible, the visible work that, especially those involved in the village beautification and cleanup that they're involved in. You can actually see the work they're doing, Madam Speaker. Work, Madam Speaker. I dare say that we used to pay contractors, Madam Speaker, lots of big money before. They're now being done by the National Employment Program, doing a wonderful job. So I think, so when you hear the people talk about National Employment Program like it's a waste of, some of them call it never-ending poverty, whatever they call it. But I tell them, go and tell the people that it's never-ending poverty. The people who didn't have anything to do before, the 40 or so people in the Bagatelle area, who right now don't have to pay $1 bus, transportation. They don't have to worry about buying clothes for work. You don't have to worry about, as the Honourable Child said, food or snack. They leave their homes, they go and do a few hours of cleanup, Madam Speaker, they go back home. They get $800 a fortnight, Madam Speaker. That can pay their bills. That can every now and then they can afford to splurge in a new pair of shoes, a new dress, Madam Speaker. So go and tell them it's never ending property, and you'll see cool wash all you will get. Madam Speaker, again, Madam Speaker, and apart from the $100+ million project, Madam Speaker, which is what the P7 resettlement is going to cost us, Madam Speaker. And again, the wonderful thing about this, Madam Speaker, is that we don't have to come up front with just $1, Madam Speaker. All of this is being funded under the Citizenship via Investment Program. Because where else, Madam Speaker, would the government get that type of money up front to relocate people, Madam Speaker, more than 800 or so, almost 300 families, Madam Speaker, to the tune of over $100 million. A modern suburban town, completely playing field, basketball court, children's playground, a minimal, I think on the plan it's called a commercial center. The Bellevue committee called it a minimal, farmers market, community center, you just name it, Madam Speaker, all of these amenities. Each home comes equipped with fiber optics, internet ready, Madam Speaker, a modern suburban town. And I'm pretty sure, that all of those who are talking nonsense about the settlement, that when this project is complete, they're going to come and tell me that they want one for their brother, sister overseas. I'm pretty sure of that, Madam Speaker. And one of the other reasons that I'm a very happy member of Parliament, Madam Speaker, the Minister for Public Works, she's not there. Recently, Madam Speaker, we spoke about another massive project from the Lubia to Bagatelle Road Rehabilitation Project. Immediately after Rika, the British government committed over £40 million, or close to £40 million rather, towards, Madam Speaker, to take care of the road from Lubia all the way back to Bagatelle. So we're talking about another $100+ million to be invested within the P7 constituency. So we can add, Madam Speaker, I know some of us are good at adding, but $100 million we look for the relocation of P7, plus another $100 million for the road. That's already $200 million, Madam Speaker, being invested in the P7 constituency. So that's $200 million reasons for me to smile, Madam Speaker, and for me to be happy as a member of Parliament. And again, I want to thank the Minister of Public Works, Madam Speaker, for the consultation process that was started with the communities. So while you hear them talking about things are being done and people are consulted, I was about to say consulted like Felix Thomas, but consulted, Madam Speaker, we held a series of meetings from Bagatelle. Each of the communities that is going to be affected by this project, Bagatelle, Granby, Pichelin, Bellevue, Chopin, Madam Speaker, we held meetings there with the community where we heard from them. So while we have an idea what has to be done, we also wanted to hear from them what they think needs to be done, because remembering and bearing in mind that they're the ones who live there, they reside there, they traverse that road, etc. And I really want to thank the Minister of Public Works for her support thus far. Pichelin, Madam Speaker, what can I say about Pichelin? Pichelin boasts I know my colleague, one of my colleagues, don't like to hear that the most modern court in Dominica, Madam Speaker, complete with large, massive outdoor, Madam Speaker, scoring board. And I want to congratulate the Falcon Sports Group, Madam Speaker, for making it to the finals last year. And when we hear the opposition talking about we don't worry with young people, blah, 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 Madam Speaker, because of this court, Madam Speaker, and the interest that this court has put, especially in the youngsters of the community, this year, Minister of Sports, we saw 6 young people from Pichelin, Madam Speaker, representing Dominica in the Windward Island sports games. 6 young people from the small community of Pichelin. And this is a result, I said, that because of the investment in the court, the young people take pride in the court. In fact, they went to the court probably more than the grown-ups. Sometimes they have to turn off the lights on them for them to go home, Madam Speaker. So I want to congratulate the Falcons basketball team and, of course, the Pichelin Sports Committee, Sports Group, for the wonderful work they're doing in mentoring the younger folks of the community. So, Madam Speaker, what else can I say? I'm very happy. Madam Speaker, we can talk about, we have received our fair share of small business money. Just recently, within the community of Bellevue Chopin, we had $150,000, Madam Speaker, where we allocated it to about between 10 and 15 small business owners, some of them owning snack kits, existing businesses, new businesses, and especially with PD7 coming to Bellevue Chopin, we think it was extra important that these people invest in ventures, Madam Speaker, that would be serving the 2 communities. At recent town hall meetings, we would have heard a number of commitments being made to continue the small business in the other communities and also to housing in the other areas. And one of the things that I want to say, Madam Speaker, before I end, I really want to thank the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Madam Speaker, for their response to my constituents post-tropical America in the construction of the 50 petrocasas that are now currently housing the DB community. And all of this, Madam Speaker, the houses have been allocated to these people, to the residents of Dubic, without $1, Madam Speaker, not $1. In fact, Madam Speaker, people who didn't own homes before, because of the extended families living under one roof, they were separated and given the independent and allocated homes. And from all reports, Madam Speaker, we're in the process of doing the roads and some retaining walls. From all reports, Madam Speaker, they're very satisfied. And I have no doubt, Madam Speaker, that the commitment towards this Labour Party administration will continue when the bell is sounded. And I want to send a warning, Madam Speaker, to the leader of the opposition, because sometimes you almost get the feeling that they're almost like to rejoice and celebrate because of the misfortunes or what is going on in Venezuela, Madam Speaker. You get that impression from them, that they're happy just because of our close relations to Venezuela. They're happy that this is going on in Venezuela. Madam Speaker, we are not, and we want to let the people of Venezuela know, like we've done many times, we are not fear-weathered friends. We don't jump from people to people because of what they can give at a time. We stand strong with our friends and we pray, Madam Speaker. We pray, Madam Speaker, we pray every day, Madam Speaker, that the socio-political, economic stability of Venezuela will be restored in the quickest possible time. And we're really hoping that, and we should not forget, and I think this is what I want to get across to the leader of the opposition. We should not forget CR2K, right, Ian? In case, Madam Speaker, in case that he becomes the leader someday, by some miracle, aberration of whatever, Madam Speaker, or of logic, he becomes the Prime Minister. These are the same government that he's going to deal with. So he cannot be appearing to rejoice at the demise of another sovereign, Madam Speaker, because we cannot forget the tremendous part they played in our development, education, infrastructure, housing, etc., Madam Speaker. And I want to wish the people of Venezuela well. So, Madam Speaker, with these few words, I think, let me just say, if I've missed anything, with these few words, Madam Speaker, I just want to recommit myself, okay, to the task ahead. To the task ahead, Madam Speaker. It has been a little tough going as the Minister of Health and of course the Member of Parliament, especially post-tropical America. And I really want to reach out to all my constituents and all of those who really lend support to me, my cabinet colleagues, for your unwavering support and understanding, especially at times when they feel that everything, all the attention would have been given to Pedit Servan, constituency, Pedit Servan proper, etc. But of course, understanding that Pedit Servan constituency was dealt a serious blow by Tropical America. So I really want to thank them for the patience. And Minister of Finance, how can I thank you for your commitment into restoring some sort of decency and normalcy to the Pedit Servan people? If you hear my voice go down a bit, Madam Speaker, it's because I'm a little sad sometimes when I remember Tropical America, a little emotional. So, Madam Speaker, I just want to say that I wholeheartedly support this budget. I mean, with all of the wonderful things that we see happening in this budget, and again, the Minister of Finance spoke about it, the increased tax threshold, and we talk about initiatives, concessions for people trying to develop the two main tongues, that is the Capital Roseau and Portsmouth. We talk about new initiatives in education to people who wanting to pursue a second degree. Who cannot support this budget but the few members on the opposition, Madam Speaker. I thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, I rise to give support to the measure that is before this Honorable House. Madam Speaker, I want to lend my support to the 2017-2018 national budget, which I can only describe as unassailable, no matter the angle or the perspective from which it is viewed. Because, Madam Speaker, whether we manage public finances or private businesses, as some of the colleagues on the other side do, we must be guided by benchmarks, since that is one of the indicators which determine whether we are attaining our targets. Madam Speaker, this budget comes less than 2 years following the passage of the most destructive natural phenomenon that we have experienced in Dominica, Tropical Storm Erica, which basically wiped out our gross domestic product. Here we are today, Madam Speaker, having registered some 2.8% growth in the economy in 2016. Madam Speaker, by all respects, that is a remarkable achievement. Yeah. And Madam Speaker, the forecasts for 2017 and 2018 is 3.1% growth for both years. Madam Speaker, I'm not a student of science, but I recall attending the St. Mary's Academy, and I learned that anything that one throws up must come down. That, Madam Speaker, is the law of gravity. However, Madam Speaker, our friend, the member for the Rosa Central constituency, who hails as an economist, will tell us that in economics, if one is not prudent, there is always the tendency, Madam Speaker, to take on more debt than one ought to. There is always the tendency to engage more employees, like 10,000 jobs in 5 years, Madam Speaker. And then, Madam Speaker, if we think of the then Public Works Department between 1995 and 1999, when it was oversaturated with employees, especially from a West Coast village, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, in a few years down the road, you will have to pay the price, as did our country, following the reckless spending of the United Workers' Party between 1995 and 1999. Madam Speaker, I listened to the budget presentation by the Honourable Prime Minister, and it's not very common for me to be at a loss for words, but I was definitely at a loss for words to describe the budget presentation, because it clearly demonstrated remarkable wisdom and vision. But, Madam Speaker, when I heard the Honourable Leader of the Opposition in his budget response, his response amplified, Madam Speaker, the wisdom and the vision of the Honourable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance for making provisions to cater for students with special needs. And, Madam Speaker, as Minister for Education, I would want to go one step further to say to the Dominican public, Madam Speaker, that I propose that we include classes for parliamentarians with special needs. Because, Madam Speaker, the response of the Leader of the Opposition shows clearly that there is a deficiency within the opposition, Madam Speaker. They fail to understand what the budget was all about, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, why do I say this? You will note, Madam Speaker, the irrelevance of the parliamentary minority was punctuated by the Leader of the Opposition, the parliamentary representative from the Marigot constituency, when in his budget response, Madam Speaker, he promised Dominicans that within 7 years, the United Workers' Party would build an international airport. Within 3 years, he would get us free medical insurance. And within 3 years, he would provide housing for all Dominicans. And within 6 months, he would ensure that he provides a management structure that would take care of all of our garbage disposal needs. Madam Speaker, we all know that it takes a new administration anywhere between 3 and 5 years to come to grips with effectively managing the country's resources. But, Madam Speaker, given the exceptional academic qualifications and cognitive skills of the leader of the opposition, we would expect a United Workers' Party administration to do so in a record 33 years. Madam Speaker, 7 years to construct an international airport. Madam Speaker, I want to ask, is this the same United Workers' Party Team Dominica Incorporated, who could not pay public servant salaries between 1995 and 1999? 7 years to build an international airport?
After all, man.
Madam Speaker, you hear Senator Baptiste speaking to the fact that government should build a mass transit system. This is laughable, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is a man who is versed in planning. Could it be, Madam Speaker, that the senator is calling on the government to purchase a fleet of 100-seater buses and to ensure that we effectively put out of employment, Madam Speaker, the bus drivers who transport the tourists to his facility? Could it be, Madam Speaker, that when he calls for mass transit system, that he is calling on us to do away with the bus drivers, and the bus drivers of Dominica need to take heed? That is what the United Workers' Party would do to the poor bus drivers of Salisbury and Marigot and La Plaine. Madam Speaker, could it be, Madam Speaker, that the senator, Madam Speaker, is probably thinking of the creation of some mass tunnels underground where we can have a subway running through Portsmouth to Scott's Head and Bretica to Roseau, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, it may be that some people are hallucinating. Madam Speaker, we listened to the opposition, and they have not been able to present to the Dominican people not one proposal for the advancement of our country. It shows a lack of preparation by men who have sat in opposition, some of them for the past 17 years, Madam Speaker, a government in waiting. Madam Speaker, the member for Roseau Central, I've been advised, is an economist. The senator is a planner. And Senator Thomas, I'm advised, I'm not sure, I'm subject to correction, that you are an architect or some designer of some sort, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, and that is why we must speak the truth. And, Madam Speaker, they need to tell the people of Dominica, why is it that after running through the streets of Dominica month after month, year after year, going around every nook and cranny, that they have failed in coming up with a proper plan to assist in the development of our country? Madam Speaker, you hear them talking as though they are the people who have all authority. Madam Speaker, I am always in La Plaine, and I move around La Plaine, and I'll tell you, with all of the challenges that we have in the southeast of Dominica, the last time that some of these members on the opposition side were in the southeast of Dominica was after Tropical Storm Erika. And they have never returned. And, Madam Speaker, a few of them, including the leader, were in La Plaine in February during a council election when their main man was raising monies which would eventually be used to purchase food for the demonstrators who were outside of Parliament, Madam Speaker. And today, Madam Speaker, he has washed his hand like Pontius Pilate. I know him not. But, Madam Speaker, that is a criteria attribute of the United Workers' Party. Use and abuse, and then I know him not. But, Madam Speaker, like a leech, I want to forewarn them, they should have known before, like a leech, this gentleman will cling to you, and unless the last drop of blood has been sucked out of the life, Madam Speaker, he shall not release them, because he knows them, and he was with them, and shall be with them, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, let me say to the Dominican public that we must be wary. In fact, Madam Speaker, the Dominican public needs to know that all the opposition does is walk in and out of Parliament. And you saw it yesterday. There was a well-designed plan to walk out of Parliament. But, Madam Speaker, I think on Friday, but, Madam Speaker, wisdom prevailed. Your wisdom prevailed, Madam Speaker. And when they intended to walk out of Parliament on Friday, Madam Speaker, your wisdom prevailed. And so their plans were aborted yet another time. But, Madam Speaker, we are not ignorant of their devices. Madam Speaker, we see an opposition calling on the Dominican public time and time again to rise up against authority. But, Madam Speaker, at our schools, we call on children, we call on our young people to obey laws. How can we get our young people to obey laws, to be in conformity with rules and regulations, when at the highest level, Madam Speaker, we have men who will not subject themselves to the rules and regulations governing Parliament? Madam Speaker, how can a member, I mean, there is civility, you know, Madam Speaker. I can disagree with you, Madam Speaker, but I can do so in a civil manner. But to look at the Speaker and blatantly disrespect the authority of the Speaker, is that the signal that we want to send to the young people? Senator, Honourable Member for Salisbury, is that the message we want to send to our young people? Don't touch me, don't touch me. But, Madam Speaker, and Dominica is hearing him, Madam Speaker, while we sit here and we are dealing with the business of Parliament, you will see, Madam Speaker, that the opposition seats are practically empty. And, Madam Speaker, all you have to do tonight is take a walk up Bath Road, go on to the basketball court, and, Madam Speaker, when a member of Parliament is paid a parliamentary salary to do the work of the people while Parliament is in session, a member of Parliament is on the basketball court in Bath Road, on Bath Road, next to the cemetery, playing basketball, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is a poor taste, and it is the wrong message we are sending to the... And then, Madam Speaker, I mean, here comes the same member, and with the face of an angel, he speaks about being concerned about the poor people of Dominica. What a shame. What a disgrace to the young people of Dominica, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me turn, and Madam Speaker, all over Dominica, even in Parliament, people are making excuses. As far as the Constitution is concerned, the man is sound. He's in his right mind and he's not sick, Madam Speaker, and so he ought to be doing the business of the people of Dominica. Madam Speaker, let me turn my attention now to the Ministry of Education. Because during the academic year 2016-2017, Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development focused on a number of strategic imperatives for our country. Firstly, we looked at improving the quality and accountability of leadership and management, Madam Speaker. to improve the curriculum and strategies for assessment, and to provide, importantly, provide opportunities for technical, vocational education and training to strengthen our pastoral care, among many others. But, Madam Speaker, our strategies, our programs, and our projects are all geared at ensuring that we meet the interests and the needs of learners, Madam Speaker, while ensuring that they can attain their full potential and participate in today's knowledge-based society. Madam Speaker, as a government, as a ministry, our vision is that each child succeeds. Because gone are the days when we want to have a large percentage of young people graduating from high school, maybe not having completed third or fourth form, having dropped out, Madam Speaker. Unfortunately, a few always fall between the cracks. But we want to know that when these young men and women get to a position of leadership, that they will have got to a point where they can effectively contribute to national development. And so our mission is to educate and prepare all students to live productive lives in a complex and changing society. And so, Madam Speaker, over the period 2016 to 2017, there are some achievements that I want to highlight by the Ministry of Education that have significantly impacted on the lives of our students from early childhood through secondary, tertiary levels. Madam Speaker, first of all, I want to highlight some of the areas that we were able to work on during the school year. And we believe that in order for children to do well, in order to provide them with quality education, they must learn in a conducive environment. And so we focused on the rehabilitation and renovation of our school plants. We were able to carry out major repair works on 13 of our primary schools to the tune of $1,660,638.50. Madam Speaker, only on Saturday, some of my colleagues visited the Grand Fond Primary School, and they had very high praise for the kind of transformation that had actually taken place at the Grand Fond School plant. I want to thank the residents of Grand Fond, the teachers, principal staff, because apart from Grand Fond, Madam Speaker, we were able to work with 12 other schools, and I want to express profound gratitude to a number of organizations who were able to work with us, made invaluable contributions following Tropical Storm Erica. And some of these contributions were actually used in the last financial year. Madam Speaker, we had organizations like the Barbados Cares, the Association des Dominiques de la Guadeloupe. We also had Coreca Guadeloupe and the British High Commission in London. Madam Speaker, I want to register our profound thanks to these organizations and also the President's Charities Foundation for ensuring that we were able, through their contributions, to rehabilitate a number of our schools. For example, the member for Corley Ho, we were able, through interventions by the Barbados Cares and the President's Charities Foundation, to execute works totaling $94,826.04 at the Corley Ho Primary School. We were able to resurface the Coolibee Stream multi-purpose hard court and renovate the school. And Madam Speaker, in addition to this, the Ministry of Education was able to carry out minor repair works at some of our primary schools and secondary schools, totaling $1.6 million. Madam Speaker, one of the areas that we are constantly aware of in delivering quality education is the infusion of ICT into the school's curriculum. The intention is to provide our schools with that kind of environment where students are able to access information at their fingertips. And Madam Speaker, we have ensured that we provide wireless connectivity in all our secondary and primary schools. And Madam Speaker, I want to commend our EMIS officers. We have 10 EMIS officers who have been providing support to these schools, ensuring that our teachers are able to input the data so that parents can get onto the system and track the performance, the attendance patterns of their children. Madam Speaker, in creating a supportive environment, key for us is the issue of school management and supervision. Because for us as government, for us in the Ministry of Education, importantly, it is about learning outcomes, student performance. And Madam Speaker, we have some strategies for improving the quality of teaching and learning that include, first of all, literacy and numeracy support for our schools. One of the exercises that we have carried out, Madam Speaker, based on the national assessment results over the past 5 years at grade 2 and grade 4 levels, we have identified a number of primary schools where there is a high percentage of students who are not performing at grade level. And Madam Speaker, the plan is to collaborate with those schools and ensure that we meet staff, we provide them with support, and ensure that the staff of the schools and the officers within the curriculum and measurement unit, that they are able to monitor the schools, monitor the performance of students, and ensure that we see some sort of improvement. Madam Speaker, in the area of special education, over the last year, we were able to provide support to a number of students and, importantly, parents at various schools with a view to improving the standard of performance. And, Madam Speaker, the guidance and counseling department within the ministry was able to go into the schools, work with no less than 135 of our students from 8 of our primary and secondary schools. We discussed the results of these schools, the students, and we make recommendation for remedial intervention. Madam Speaker, importantly, we need to note that during the last year, 2016-2017, that we were able through the CBM to, through the intervention of some $16,500 annually, we were able to assist a number of students within those schools. But, Madam Speaker, importantly for us, we recognize that in order for students to do well at the primary, secondary level, that there has to be a solid foundation. And so, in October of 2016, Cabinet approved the establishment of the Early Childhood Development Unit within the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development. And as a result, we have now increased our staff. We engaged 1 early childhood coordinator. We also engaged 2 assistant early childhood officers. And these individuals, along with 9 roving care givers, they are now able to go into the various school districts, work with students at the primary and at the preschool level and early childhood level, and ensure that we establish a solid foundation so that these children can do well at the primary level. Madam Speaker, we believe that professional training for our staff across the island, as far as early childhood is concerned, is key. And importantly, we are now training our roving caregivers in the whole issue of child assault prevention, because we believe that we have a responsibility to safeguard our young children. Madam Speaker, as we seek to improve our human capital through education and training, there is need for us to provide our youth with more opportunities for employment. And the Ministry of Education continues to expand technical vocational education and training. And Madam Speaker, you heard the Honourable Prime Minister in his presentation speak to the whole issue of technical vocational education and training and certification, and I will speak to this in a while. Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to inform this Honourable House that in October 2016, the first cohort of students received certification in the Caribbean Vocational Qualification CVQ examinations awarded by CXC. This, for us as ministry, is a breakthrough. We had, Madam Speaker, 15 students were certified, 9 in food preparation, and 6 in garment production. And Madam Speaker, in June of 2017, 11 students from the Goodwill Secondary School were also assessed by an external verifier from the Grenada National Training Agency. And Madam Speaker, we are happy that the following schools are now engaged in the delivery of CVQs in the following subject areas. We have the Dominica Grammar School delivering in food preparation and auto mechanics. And Madam Speaker, we have a state-of-the-art auto mechanics lab at Dominica Grammar School. The Goodwill Secondary School is the Center of Excellence for Garment Production, and Northeast Comprehensive School in crop production and auto mechanics. Madam Speaker, the facilities at 7 public secondary schools are now being upgraded, and this includes Castlebrook Secondary School, Honourable Senator, the Castlebrook Secondary School in cosmetology and garment. We have the Portsmouth Secondary School, plumbing and cosmetology and agriculture. We are expending some $60,000. The Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, auto mechanics and crop production, food and building technology, Northeast Comprehensive Auto Mechanics and Crop Production, and the Dominica Grammar School, Auto Mechanics Facility, Woods and Crop Production. Madam Speaker, the issue of health and safety is paramount for us, because we believe that we need to create a safe and healthy environment for the delivery of quality education. And we learned after Erica a tough lesson when most of our schools, although they were not impacted physically, were not able to operate because of the lack of drinking water. And so in collaboration with UNICEF, we have installed water tanks at all our schools at a cost of some $234,425. And Madam Speaker, I want to express profound gratitude to the Rotary Club of Dominica, who also contributed in supporting the effort of the establishment of probably the largest water tank on island at any of our schools, and that is the Dominica Grammar School. Madam Speaker, my colleague minister, the Minister for Health, you have heard him oftentimes speak of the school vision and BMI project, what we commonly call the I Can See Clearly Now program. Madam Speaker, this project targets all primary and secondary school students. The Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development collaborated with the Ministry of Health. And Madam Speaker, again, this was brought about as a result of the vision of our Prime Minister. And I think that the people of Dominica need to appreciate the kind of work, the effort of our Prime Minister and the Cabinet of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Because, Madam Speaker, this thing did not just come because any government could or would have done it. It took time and effort and concern for the people of Dominica. And, Madam Speaker, to date, through the eye can see, a total of 11,361 students have been seen. Madam Speaker, of this number, we have been advised that 9,208 needed further referrals. And of that figure, the 9,208, Madam Speaker, I am pleased to inform the people of Dominica that 953 of these students at the primary and secondary level have received prescription for eyeglasses free of cost to the families around Dominica. Now, Madam Speaker, you notice that from time to time I have to put these on and off. That's a sign of the aging process. But, Madam Speaker, when you step into a classroom and you discover that there are children 9 and 10, 14 and 15 who are underperforming, and the families know that these children can do well, but they have a problem and nobody knows the problem. Madam Speaker, it was against this backdrop that the eye can see clearly this vision program was conceptualized, because we recognized that our children can do well, but some of them were not doing well. And so the government, the Labour Party government, Madam Speaker, out of a heart of love for the people of Dominica, recognized that some families had challenges. And this is not America, this is not Switzerland, this is a small island state struggling against a number of natural disasters in the face of global challenges, and of course, member, an opposition that will not join in the cause to ensure that we can develop our country. And so, Madam Speaker, what we have actually done, these pairs of spectacles that would cost the parents of Dominica thousands of dollars, it costs roughly $800 to $1,400 for a pair of spectacles. But, Madam Speaker, thanks to the Dominica Labour Party, 953 children now have a pair of eyeglasses free of cost, Madam Speaker. That is what Labour is all about, Madam Speaker. And, Madam Speaker, we believe that with all of that, that training is important. We must train our teachers. And, Madam Speaker, I will not go into the whole litany of training that we offer our teachers, but to say that as we speak, 25 principals, vice principals, and senior teachers who are pursuing master's degree in education, leadership, and management have successfully completed the program at the end of the second week of July 2017, and they are now awaiting their certificates free of cost, again, thanks to the Dominica Labour Party administration for recognizing that we need to assist our teachers and principals. Madam Speaker, some other major initiatives within the Ministry of Education is the Early Learners Program, what we refer to as the ELP. And, Madam Speaker, basically the ELP, or Early Learners Program, it involves 6 OECS island states, and, Madam Speaker, including Dominica. And the sum of $8,998,886 was provided by the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, for that specific purpose. And, Madam Speaker, of course, there is always a contribution made by every island state. And what we do, Madam Speaker, we are tackling the reading challenges of the children in the OECS and more specifically Dominica. The whole issue of achievement levels in reading at the early level from grades K to 3 to ensure, Madam Speaker, that when these children get to high school, they can do well, they can succeed, and they don't have to drop out because they could not follow the syllabus, and so they became deviant and had to drop out at third form, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish also to advise that the Ministry of Education is presently working with the Dominica State College Faculty of Education on reforming the teacher preparation program. Madam Speaker, we have had a fundamental difficulty, but we recognize that this has to include reviewing college entry requirements, because we believe that the courses offered and the training modalities have to be adapted to meet our needs. And so, Madam Speaker, we are working with the Dominica State College, and we expect within quick time that we will see, and that is under the ELP program, we will see tangible and visible changes in the delivery of education, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we also have the Global Partnership for Education, funded by what we call the GPE, funded by the OECS Education Improvement Project. And Madam Speaker, again, some $2 million has been allocated to each of the islands of the OECS, Dominica included, and we are working vigorously at ensuring that we address the issue of curriculum and assessment, teacher professional development, school leadership, and accountability. Because, Madam Speaker, at some of our schools, we have a serious problem as far as school leadership and accountability is concerned. But we are working with our schools and also in the area of project implementation and monitoring and evaluation. Madam Speaker, let me say that within the Ministry of Education, we have accomplished quite a lot within the past year, despite the challenges of the previous year. In fact, the Ministry of Education is currently working to ensure that all of our national activities will be based on the outputs that we have predetermined, so that our action plan fits snugly into the national plan for education in Dominica. Madam Speaker, one area of my ministry that somehow gets lost with the public is that of the Dominica Library and Information Service. The Library and Information Service continues to develop a culture of reading across the nation, and we are focusing on improvement on literacy and, importantly, internet access, engagement of communities, and the preservation of our records. Madam Speaker, you would have heard one of the members on our side allude to the fact that the opposition does not read. Now, this is not limited only to the opposition. We have a problem here in Dominica, Madam Speaker. We do not have a reading public, so that people get onto the internet, but they don't read, they just cut and paste. But, Madam Speaker, through the Library and Information Service, over the last year, we were able to establish, see the establishment of a preservation, a digitalization lab at the National Archives, and the commencement of the digitization of records for digital preservation and enhancing online access to Dominica's documentary heritage. Madam Speaker, for many years, we've been talking about digitalizing or digitizing the archives. Thankfully, we were able to engage a gentleman, and as I speak, we are addressing that issue. Importantly, too, Madam Speaker, we now have improved internet access at all of our public libraries. We were able to achieve this through a donation of some 20 desktop computers and other equipment to the tune of some $66,322 by the National Telecommunication Regulatory Commission, the NTRC. Madam Speaker, I want to move now to the issue of human resource development, because you would have heard the Prime Minister in his address speak to the whole issue of human resource development. Madam Speaker, we believe that human resource development is key to national development. And through our scholarship and award program or scheme, the Ministry of Education continues its commitment to providing financial support for students undertaking tertiary education in Dominica. Madam Speaker, it is evident that the Labour Party administration has distinguished itself as the education government. Yeah. In fact, Madam Speaker, the government of Dominica, contrary to what the opposition claims, because of the good name that we have established with institutions and governments around the globe, Madam Speaker, and I see the member for Marigot smiling away, because he recognizes that today scholarships can be given even to NGOs because the Labour Party administration has set the platform, Madam Speaker. And we view the issue of human resource development seriously, because we cannot go down the road that our grandparents went, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, for us, whether the scholarships, they come annually from the People's Republic of China or the Kingdom of Morocco or the Commonwealth Scholarship Commissioner from Cuba or the Organization of American States, or whether they are from the Indian government through JICA, Madam Speaker, we make it our business as an administration that there be equity, Madam Speaker, in the distribution of those scholarships. Madam Speaker, as Minister for Education, I ensure that annually every constituency in Dominica is given an equal opportunity at sending these young people out to study. So that, Madam Speaker, my colleague from Petit Savant would well understand that if we are offered 10 scholarships by the Cuban government, he cannot get 2, Madam Speaker. It is only natural. And he cannot take 3. And even if he does make a request, Madam Speaker, he would be given 1, because we give a fair opportunity to every young person in Dominica to develop himself academically and create for himself and his family a sustainable livelihood. And Madam Speaker, that is the difference between the Labour Party administration and the United Workers' Party, Team Dominica Incorporated, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in 2016-2017, Madam Speaker, from the People's Republic of China, we got 11 scholarships and 13 to Cuba. We have the Island Scholarship and the FOC Harris Scholarship, Madam Speaker. And the National Performance Awards, we had 4 of them. And Madam Speaker, the Commonwealth Scholarships 2, Ross University, Madam Speaker, 4, and All Saints and Cramblin 23 and Midwestern 44, and the list goes on, Madam Speaker, because we believe that the only way out of poverty and ignorance is through education of the masses, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, our Human Resource Assistance Program for the year under review, the government approved roughly $726,013.49. Madam Speaker, 11.7 million. This is unprecedented in the history of Dominica. And you hear the opposition saying that the government is doing nothing for the young people of Dominica. Madam Speaker, well, I understand what they mean by nothing, because their fear is these young people, when they are well educated, they will be able to make a judgment call when the time comes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in 2017, a total of 2016-2017, 263 scholarships and special awards. These are the students receiving stipends, Madam Speaker. And the assisted students, Madam Speaker, we assisted 352 students. Madam Speaker, giving a total of 615 students. That's a 10% increase over the previous year. A total of $14.7 million. And the FS is sitting there, and I'm sure that the FS feels good that we are addressing the needs of our people where they feel it most. Because, Madam Speaker, let's understand, many of us, Madam Speaker, had to take loans to pay our college and university. And for those whose parents did not have a certificate of title or some good godfather who would stand at the bank, put in the collateral, Madam Speaker, these young, intelligent people were not able to obtain a university degree. But today, the Labour government has opened the door of education. And Madam Speaker, as Minister, I'm happy when I go to Grand Bay and I hear, Mr. Saint-Jean, Minister Saint-Jean, I just came back from studying and I'm looking for a job. And I say to them, don't look for a job, but help us to create some jobs, Madam Speaker. That is the Labour brand, where we educate people who can assist in the process of national development. Madam Speaker, that is not all. Because we believe that it is important to note that many students at schools in the United States, the United Kingdom, in Canada, and other countries have benefited from our financial assistance program. And Madam Speaker, we assist students at UWI, Dominica Open Campus, at UWI, Keville, Mona, St. Augustine's, at Monroe College. Madam Speaker, all over the globe, we are assisting students, Dominican youth, to ensure that we fully develop the people of this country. And Madam Speaker, as I say this, I heard one of the members of the opposition say that we keep moving the goalpost as far as attaining our objective of training our young people so that we will achieve 100%, or every home in Dominica would have a university graduate. But Madam Speaker, as the years go by, we keep the population that would enter into university keeps increasing. So after 5 years, a student who was a fifth former would have completed state college and now is prepared to enter into university. And Madam Speaker, let me say, while we may not have achieved 100% success rate, we are not far from that, Madam Speaker. But importantly, Madam Speaker, not only do we have one graduate in a number of households, but we have 2 and 3 university graduates. And thank God today, the families are still debt-free as far as putting their certificates of title and taking these loans at the bank is concerned. Madam Speaker, it takes only a caring government to ensure that these needs are met. Madam Speaker, as we look over the horizon onto 2017-2018, I want to say that the government scholarship program shall continue into the next financial year. Friendly governments continue to express interest in offering scholarships to this government, and that is expected to increase the intake of students. And of course, Madam Speaker, you heard the Honourable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance indicate our intention to continue to provide training in the vocational field to boost technical abilities of the youth of Dominica, to provide opportunities to those who wish to pursue the studies in the technical areas. Madam Speaker, however, it is important to note that we will tweak the program slightly. And as you heard earlier in the budget presentation, we have a number of people who have achieved their first degree, so now we're looking towards post-grad. And in the new year, the ministry will introduce a standardized online application form. And a new information management system will be launched. This, Madam Speaker, will enhance the effectiveness of our operations. And the unit will be better able to capture all the relevant data, and in a more comprehensive and accurate manner, we will be able to generate the information using a computerized system. Madam Speaker, our national priority list of training areas will soon be made public. We have already written to the stakeholders. We have written to a number of associations and institutions. We have asked them to submit the list of priorities that they would have as far as training is concerned. The information is being collated by the Ministry of Education, and pretty soon we will publish the national list or priority list of training areas to the public. Madam Speaker, a policy, importantly, a policy on bonding of students receiving financial assistance will be rolled out in this new financial year. We believe that if the state finances your education, that you have a responsibility to serve the state, whether you be in or out. We have no problem, I have no problem with people wanting to work out there, maybe remain in Canada or the United States, but that somehow or the other, whether it is through some summer program, they must come back to Dominica and give to the land that was able to give them an education. Madam Speaker, we have friends in the diaspora, we have supporters. Of course, we know that there are some who are attempting to disenfranchise them, but we believe that this is an important sector, and we will capitalize upon it.
You have 4 minutes left.
Well, Madam Speaker, yes, I need 15 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I move that the Honourable Member be given an additional 15 minutes to complete his presentation.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the minister be given a further 15 minutes to complete his contribution. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, colleagues. Madam Speaker, the performance of our students at the CSEC Caribbean examinations is noteworthy. A total of 834 candidates entered to write the CSEC exams in 2016 in 33 subject areas. Some 6,389 subject entries. Madam Speaker, I wish to report here that we had a record increase in overall pass rate for grade 1s. We had 111 grade 1s. In 2016, 81.7% over our best, 81.7% pass rate. That has been our best performance in the past 5 years. And Madam Speaker, compared to 77.3% in the previous year. In fact, Madam Speaker, we were able to do better than a number of our counterparts in the region. Madam Speaker, quickly I want to say that as far as our social safety nets are concerned, We continue to ensure that our safety net programs are implemented, managed through the Education Trust Fund administered by the board. And I want to thank the board for working with us. Our school transfer grant, Madam Speaker, of $500 per child will continue. Last year, we expended some $405,000 to 800 students. Examination fees of some $29,000 was paid for students in need. We will continue our uniform allowance, and in the last year, Madam Speaker, we spent some $449,000 providing uniform assistance to students. We will continue, Madam Speaker, with our school registration fee, or the payment of school registration fees, the transportation allowance in some cases, because while we transport our students in the out district, there are some who are not captured, and through the trust fund, we expended some $41,100 assisting the students. Madam Speaker, during the year under review, an amount of $1,941,652 was paid to 94 bus drivers from across the island to transport students to our various primary and secondary schools. Madam Speaker, we do not believe in a mass transit system. We believe in empowering our bus drivers who can earn a decent living.
That's it.
Madam Speaker, the government owns and operates 9 coaster buses transporting roughly 400 students. And these are managed at the local government level, Madam Speaker, because we believe, Honourable Minister for Social Services, that some of our village councils are doing a very good job managing those resources. Of course, we have to be on the lookout for the people who get into councils with the hope of embezzling those monies, Madam Minister. And we must be very careful, we must be vigilant, because heaven knows where these monies can end up, and in the hands of which people it can end up, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, we do not harbor thieves, we do not harbor criminals. We are very careful as to who we associate with, but there are some in Dominica who harbor thieves and imposters and impersonators, Madam Speaker, and we must be wary of those individuals, Madam Speaker. The school feeding program shall continue, Madam Speaker. Our textbook distribution scheme shall continue. And as we look towards the coming year, we will continue our capital works on Tebow Primary, a new school. Designs are being prepared for Goodwill Secondary School. Our maintenance program will continue at no less than 11 of our primary schools. Madam Speaker, we are working on the development of an education sector plan. And Madam Speaker, we are placing serious emphasis on the issue of certification of TVET, CVQ teachers as assessors, internal and external verifiers, and we are looking at expanding our offerings within the CVQ program. Madam Speaker, because we believe that if tourism is to take off, if the various construction fields are to take off, Madam Speaker, we not only need people who can do the job, but people who are certified, and that certificate has currency not only locally, but around the region. We cannot allow people to come from Trinidad and Barbados to take those skilled jobs, so we are bent on ensuring that our people are certified. Madam Speaker, I go quickly to the La Plaine constituency, and let me say, Madam Speaker, that in the 2014 elections, in my constituency manifesto, Madam Speaker, I said to my constituents, my plans for the La Plaine constituency are to improve your lives, Madam Speaker. And that you did. I am therefore asking you, and I quote, Madam Speaker, I am therefore asking you for your vote so that I can continue to represent your interests and work for your betterment. Madam Speaker, I am indeed pleased. Dr. Darroux said he was proud, but I am pleased, Madam Speaker, to report that despite the terrible setback that we suffered in the southeast of Dominica, in the La Plaine constituency, during the passage of Tropical Storm Erica, Madam Speaker, over the last year, significant investments in these communities have transformed the physical landscape. It has transformed the life and the perception of the people of the Lapland constituency and the Southeast. Well, of course, Madam Speaker, there are some whose perceptions and whose lives may never be changed except for divine intervention, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, in education, in the area of education, we continue to ensure quality education for all Southeast children from Grandfont to and Madam Speaker, I speak here for the people of the Grandfont constituency, Montreal Rivière Syriac, in the absence of the APAL rep. Madam Speaker, from Grandfont to Delis, we have expended $365,000 to upgrade the Font Thomas School, the Delis Primary School, Madam Speaker. In fact, most people who drive in the area, they ask, what university is this, Madam Speaker? And that's what the people of Delis have right now. We continue to provide bus transportation, not only for secondary school students, but for the students of Bwetika, who must be bused into Delis, and the children of Delis. We have ensured that every child in the Southeast, and more so the Lapland constituency, have access to secondary school. Madam Speaker, let me say that education is a process that must be stress-free, and not just stress-free for the children by providing them the support, but importantly, the parents. And that is why we continue to provide transportation, we continue to provide textbooks and uniform for all students, no matter their class, creed, color, or political ideology in the Lapland constituency. But, Madam Speaker, I want to implore the students of the Lapland constituency of the Southeast to take advantage of the educational opportunities that are available to our students. Take advantage of the Dominica State College and out-of-state universities, Madam Speaker, especially our young males, Madam Speaker. And, Madam Speaker, my open door policy continues to target everybody within the constituency, irrespective of their orientation or their perspective or their ideology, Madam Speaker. As far as employment creation is concerned, through the small business, Madam Speaker, we have created employment for scores of people. In fact, Madam Speaker, some $538,133.90 was injected into small businesses in Delis, Bwetika, and Lapland, touching the lives of 112 business owners in the constituency. In the area of agriculture, agriculture continues to play a key role in the Southeast communities in generating income for families within the Lapland constituency. And as parliamentary representative and a farmer, Madam Speaker, I continue to facilitate the provision of farm supplies to farmers' groups in the 3 villages. Madam Speaker, I want to make special mention of groups like the Delis Toloma Women in Action. Mr. Minister for Agriculture, an exceptional group of 28 women and 2 men in every respect. And, Madam Speaker, a young man, we commonly refer to him as Big G, Mr. John, who has gone into pepper production. And he's not just producing the raw material, but he's actually processing the pepper. And to date, he has 14 varieties of pepper sauce. And, Madam Speaker, these 2 entities are not just household names locally, but on the regional market, you will find Big G's Pepper, and you will find the Toloman Farin from the Daewoo Group in Delis. Madam Speaker, I hear people talk of the National Employment Program. Madam Speaker, this is another avenue for employment creation. And, Madam Speaker, I don't care what they say in the Lapland constituency, we have exploited the National Employment Program, and currently 88 individuals are under the program. And I want to say, Madam Speaker, this is not just beautification and cleanup, Madam Speaker, because most of the times the opposition causes people to believe that the National Employment Program is geared just towards beautification and cleanup. Madam Speaker, in the Lapland constituency, we have office assistants, we have tellers at the banks and credit unions, we have education mentors, we have engaged a young lady at the ophthalmology department at the Cuban graduate at the PMH, Madam Speaker. So where they're going with this talk of cleanup and beautification, that's one component of the national employment. And Madam Speaker, in the area of housing and sanitation, one of the problems we have had in La Plaine constituency is that of poor housing and sanitation. In fact, Madam Speaker, in the 2008-2009 country poverty assessment, Bwetika was highlighted as one of the poorest communities in Dominica. Madam Speaker, that is the legacy of a UWP parliamentary representative for 15 years. But today, when one step into Bwetika, Madam Speaker, Bwetika is a changed community. We have totally eradicated pit latrines in Bwetika. In fact, there were 165 households with pit latrines in the 3 villages. Madam Speaker, today, 91 of those households now have modern washroom facilities at a cost of $1,001,000. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the onslaught on the poor housing stock in the constituency continues. And Madam Speaker, this year we will have a slight change to the program. You will recall, Madam Speaker, that last year in the La Plaine constituency, you would have heard much talk about 7 model houses that I built in La Plaine. They were called the dashing houses, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, this revolutionized housing in Dominica, the approach to addressing the housing issues. Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to announce that as we speak, a contract has been issued to a gentleman in Delis to build a model 2-bedroom dashing house for a young single-parent mother in Upper La Roche, Madam Speaker. And come this Christmas, she will be dashing through La Roche, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, for elderly support and health, Madam Speaker, the La Plaine constituency, and Madam Speaker, you need to hear this because I know you want to live to 100. Madam Speaker, the La Plaine constituency boasts the highest number of centenarians on the island, Honourable Minister. And it may be, the Minister of Health says, per capita globally, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there must be something good that we are doing in La Plaine. No wonder, Madam Speaker, the members of the opposition are afraid of La Plaine. Madam Speaker, so they send their representative and then they disown him. So the United States doesn't want him, they don't want him, and now La Plaine doesn't want him, Madam Speaker. And I pity the young man, Madam Speaker, because he's human after all, having done all the dirty work for them. But Madam Speaker, 5 centenarians. Madam Speaker, we have
you can't say that. You can't say that.
I withdraw that, Madam Speaker. Please. I withdraw. I pull out. I take out. Madam Speaker, we have Matopi, centenarian, 105 years. We have Mont Frazilia, 104 years. We have Mossisi, 102 years. We have Molly in Delis. Now these 3 are in La Plaine. And then we have Molly in Delis, 102. And we have Mado, 102 years. But Madam Speaker, significantly, they all are females. So the males have to be careful because there is something the females are doing that we are not doing.
Or maybe that they're not.
Madam Speaker, the chances of you living to 100 is very, very high. Madam Speaker, the Yes We Care will continue. And the non-pensionable allowance for 70 and above will continue. And Madam Speaker, let me sound a warning to the people who have been preying on the ignorance of the elderly people of Dominica. Enough is enough. When these elderly people are given $300, do not come close to their doors. We will not pay for the mouth of lying men, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the La Plaine Health Center, as you heard the minister said, is done for serious modification. In fact, we are going, La Plaine Health District has been the best health district in Dominica. And I commend the DMO and people like Nurse Vigilant and the team that's working. And Madam Speaker, I'm quoting the Minister for Health. And in recognition of that, La Plaine has been identified.
You have 1 minute
Yes,
left.
Madam Speaker, as one of the areas for the Smart Center. Smart Center. Madam Speaker, and come August 1, work will commence. In youth development, you heard the minister speak to the lighting of the playing field. And Madam Speaker, don't let them know that I told you that. But Madam Speaker, guess what? Today, the very people who said that Peter had killed spots in La Plaine, they have gone to DFA and they have said to DFA, the La Plaine playing field is of national standard, so we want national games. And come this August, national games will be convened at the La Plaine playing field, all because of the work of the Dominican Labour Party and the power for La Plaine. Madam Speaker, I can speak to road rehabilitation in the La Plaine constituency, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, our roadway is experiencing tremendous change. And between Larond and Dalis, we have an intervention of $6 million at various points. We have the BNTF project that was, well, just about completed in Dalis, in Buetica, the BAM project in Dalis, Madam Speaker, a farm access road. And come this year, Madam Speaker, this new fiscal year, La Plaine is done for a $1.4 million water rehabilitation, and so is Buetica. Madam Speaker, all in all, we see
your time is up.
Great times ahead for the constituency. The Dalis police station shall be renovated, the La Plaine Health Center, the Buetica Health Center. Madam Speaker, it means that the people recognize that labor is working, their power up is working, and come what may, the people of the La Plaine constituency will ensure that they stay with Petter Saint-Jean and the Dominican Labour Party.
Madam Speaker, I move that this Honourable House be adjourned until 10 a.m. on August 1st, 2017.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that this Honourable House be adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow, 1st of August, 2017. Those in favor? Those against? Those against? Those against? This Honourable House stands adjourned until tomorrow, 1st of August, 2017 at 10 a.m.